Thanks for stopping by the precinct today, because I got a lot of things to tell you and some people for you to meet.
Racism, police brutality, inequality. George Floyd was a 46-year-old father who was stopped by police in Minneapolis on the 25th of May, suspected of using fake money to pay for cigarettes.
Are you bad boys and girls? I hope not, because then you might turn up on Officer Friendly's most wanted list.
A white police officer was seen kneeling on Mr. Floyd's neck as he was pinned to the ground. He repeatedly cried, "I can't breathe." The same scenes, decades apart. Protests, fury, anger, hurt spilling out across America and around the world.
I gotta get back on the old beat, boys and girls. So remember, don't let me catch you.
A white police officer, a white police officer, a white police officer, a white police officer. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Hey everybody, we're back. Time has fast forward for us. Well, for you guys, not so much for us. Just a minor little break. And we are talking about policing, the efficacy, I guess downright the morality of it. Is it useful? Does it serve a purpose? Do we need police? What changes could be done that would satisfy the complaints? Anything else there, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, like we do, we can't stick on one topic for more than 5 minutes. I mean, you're one subject, yeah, that ain't happening.
Well, I mean, it's a subject that encompasses so many others, like every subject, right? Like nothing is an island.
Yeah, nothing ever is simple as it looks from, a first observation. Everything's like a damned onion, more and more layers.
Yeah, and they usually make you cry once you start to peel them. So where we left off, you were saying that the police we have are basically the police we have created.
Yeah, pretty much. By our own actions and inability to resolve our own situations, we have asked others to step in, supposedly as non-partial, non-objective entities to handle situations that we ourselves apparently can't. And because we continue to behave in certain ways, and for the criminal aspects of us, society seems to think that, resolving these issues in said way is the best course of actions based on the results that they get. Kind of like a parent teaching their child not to touch something or not to go outside or, not to get into candy or whatever. Different parents have different ways of teaching their child to do certain things. Some of them even go toward, violence. Some, stay at talking, and we have mixed results, of course. Same with the policing. Completely different subjects, but the same mentality comes in. Society as ourselves, it's kind of how we got our moral code was, when somebody does something unacceptable, the rest of society kind of shuns them off and, in some way or another teaches them that that behavior is unacceptable. And so based on the actions that we do and the things that happen during those actions, our behaviors in said situations kind of dictated to them that, they needed to step up and, come up with a different way of handling the situations, which resulted in a police. They overreacted, as, history has shown with that, doing a whole lot of shit. And, as a society, we have started to get that to change by showing them that this is unacceptable. I would agree that even this little small incident, well, not small, I mean, that's the wrong word. Let me try to say that in a slightly better way. This the mentality of the police violence and stuff that seems to have shown up has resulted in better changes for the police force. There is more training going on. They have started to demilitarize slightly in some places. Some places have even gone so far as to take some crimes off the books of enforcement to, lesser degrees of, logic. Um, you know,
Well, I mean, well, let's stop and discuss that for a minute, right? Because I think that's an interesting. I think that right there is an interesting concept that some crimes are not necessarily, bring them into jail and type shit like that, right? Um, let's discuss what do you think are crimes that our people are currently jailed for that would be better served as, say, a citation.
well, as much as I say that, all drugs should be legalized, I would even say that some should not, like, fentanyl and a few others, that some should be highly regulated if we do that.
I
So
was
I would say
going to
that
say
drugs,
fentanyl's perfectly legal.
yeah, it shouldn't be legal for us to be, just, handing it out around, and having it in our medicine cabinet, just for shits and giggles. It should be heavily regulated, kind of a thing, and without a prescription, I would say, or without some kind of medical, a prescription, so to say. You shouldn't have something that lethal. Nobody really should. That's that easy to hide in amongst something and indiscriminately able to kill somebody.
I agree. I believe that fentanyl is a horrible thing, but I think the problem there has to do with the people wouldn't be shooting up fentanyl if they could get clean heroin,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But even if we take the lines off of some things, we still need lines. We still need borders we shouldn't cross. I mean, we're humans. Some of us are just, without somebody telling us we shouldn't do something, we're going to fucking do it. And some of us are going to do it any goddamn way.
Right. And I've said before, having a system of enforcement for like the harsher things, sure. But say
But as a general rule, anything that doesn't have an actual victim shouldn't be a crime at all.
yeah. I mean, and even when it comes down to like vagrancy and panhandling, minor trespassing, not like trespassing in somebody's backyard, but like, wandering through a fucking, a parking lot or some shit like that, you know, like that shit's trespass, but it's not really harming anybody until they commit a different crime. Then yeah, sure, get them for that. But I mean, these are minor things that if they really wanted to enforce, they could issue citations. When it comes to like homelessness, instead of going and like busting up homeless camps, it'd be better served to send a social worker in there, right? Instead of sending 10 cops and 2 social workers, you know, get some help to the people. See what needs that need to be met. I think there's a lot of things that police are used for, and I think you agree on this, that they should not be. And by using the police, you're escalating a situation and producing crime. Being homeless is not a fucking crime. But they come in and you can, yeah, they like I said, you've heard about the homeless camps getting
No, but
busted up.
unfortunately,
Sure.
trespassing is.
Yeah, I mean, well, what are they trespassing on? A lot of these like homeless encampments, like off interstate exits and whatnot. That's what, like, state land. It's not being used for anything. Nobody can build a house there. So if a few homeless people say, "Hey, this is a good, safe place, kind of away from other people," you know, where we can camp up and we can survive here. We have a place to sleep. You know, that's not really a crime though, right? I mean, it may be trespassing, but it's harming no one. It's not doing anything. And like I said, rather than send police in, even if it is a crime, go in there and see what you can do to solve the problems.
Now, that
To
points
fix
to an
things up.
issue with society that I'd bring up there is that if we really thought that that would be a problem that needed to be addressed, the vagrancy and the homelessness issues, could we not at least, at minimum, set aside some land around the cities for people to set up their fucking tent for that particular situation?
Yeah. This is your this is your homeless reservation, I guess. I don't know if I like the sound of that.
I
But
don't
I do
love it, but I mean, it gives them a place to be
it's an
able to
option,
do
right?
so without
And it has
actually
to be
breaking the laws of the actual city that they're in.
right. And it has to be somewhere reasonable where they can still access, care, where they can still access resources.
Buy a few
You know?
abandoned buildings and turn them into little, homeless apartments that,
Yeah.
okay, you have to go through some checks and
Factory-
regulations to
that
get in, but there
factory
you
for
go.
it- That factory for it in Thomasville. I mean, that could house, 150 comfortably?
Yet
Like,
no one in society is buying these places and letting homeless people in them. It's
well, yeah, and that's not police's fault. But I'm saying that the fact that we send the police in there, that is the problem. And now, like I said, it's still a symptom of a broken system, and which is why I say that cops are such bastards. It's not so much the cop, the human being. It's the uniform, right? It's the shit they're doing and who they're doing it for and who they're doing it against.
who they're doing it for. That's where I wanted to go. That's where the issue I think lies, is who they're doing it for. And unfortunately, the way the system is supposed to work, now how it actually works, I don't know, man. You hear all kinds of different stories. But the way the system supposedly works is that we, the people, vote for representatives to get into there to enact local laws, and of course hire representatives for higher laws, and we supposedly ask for this stuff. Now, I know that lobbyists get in there and they intervene in that whole process, but usually the lobbyists are big groups that get money from a bunch of people that support that particular lobby.
Yeah, when was the last time you had the opportunity to vote on an issue, right? On a law.
Well,
when
that's a problem in our system that I think really needs a big thing is we need to be voting on the systems, not just voting for somebody we hope will put in those.
Yeah, because the evidence has shown time and time again, and there's no way the numbers disagree with me on this. The proof has been shown time and time again that they do not have our best interest. There is a minority of those who do, but they ain't around long. You know what I mean? Or they get run out, or they don't have the support because they don't have the money pushing these fucking campaigns and all in your face and shit like that. They're just trying to do the right thing. They don't get the big bucks from the fucking the corporate fucking people and fucking Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and fucking Philip Morris and fucking Big Fentanyl and and another part of it is the same people that are making the lobbyists that are doing shit for this. There's also lobbyists that are doing shit to increase police interaction, to increase increase the prison systems. They're doing shit to privatize prison systems. They're doing shady shit behind the scenes. The company that makes Taser, that owns the brand Taser, they actually will sue any medical examiner that says that somebody died of a heart attack due to being tased. They will literally sue anybody who stands in the way of that. Now, is that the police? No, but it shows that there's a problem there, right? That it's a problem that's not even being allowed to be addressed because of high-powered lawyers and fucking lobbyists and people getting rich in the back corners and campaign donations. So yeah, the whole system is fucking broken, and that's why I don't trust the representatives of that system.
Oh, I don't either. I've long said that we've gone from, taxation without representation to taxation with false representation, which is essentially the same damn thing. And we're not fighting against it nowadays. We're just letting it continue to happen
I was getting
over
ready
and
to say,
over.
I would rather be just stolen from up front than being told, being told I'm being pissed on and being told it's rain.
Yeah, don't pull an
All
Amy
right.
Barrett on us, Tell us one thing
Yeah,
and then, turn
just
around and do
fucking
another.
yeah. Don't just fucking steal from me and tell me you're doing it. I'd have more respect for that. You know.
But again, it points toward the larger problem that I think is the issue is that, the society, we've allowed the majority of society to just take a wrong turn. And, we've sat down here with our voices, low so long because we really didn't give a shit until this big monstrosity reared its head. And it's pretty much too late without, actually, blowing it to fucking hell.
Yeah, that's why I say, man, we have to completely dismantle the system as it exists. Until we do such, we're just going to continue getting the same piss apples in the barrel.
And just pull it back
You
to its
know,
core, make a couple of tweaks.
I believe there is something to be said about, yeah, we do need some sort of police presence, right? So, you know, you don't have you don't have firefighters driving around in trucks looking for fires. You know what I'm saying? Not in the same way that we have cops riding around looking for crimes, but they're still there if they're needed, right? And that's what cops should be. Like, yeah, they should still be there if they're needed, and they should have a presence. Like, you should know that there's a cop nearby at all times. Sure, but that should be a comfort for the general population. You know what I mean? That alone, there is a bit of crime prevention with that. Sure, I'll give that. The numbers are back and forth on whether it actually one causes the other. It's kind of, but I'll give it the fact that, yeah, from a criminal perspective, I'm less likely to commit a crime if a cop's watching me. That being
Well, I
said,
just point you look at the North Carolina, the New York, not North Carolina, the New York crime statistics through the 80s to current, and you can see a trend every single time that they've increased the police presence in the projects where crime was prevalent. The crime rates went down. And I've got a report over here. I'd have to find which one of the 12 pages I've got open. It's like 83% of the people have a favorable view of the police presence in their neighborhoods.
Well, see, and that brings another thing. Like, community policing should be a thing. Like, the police in your community should be a member of that community. Like, that police should know. No. They should come from the fucking, they should know the area, right? Now, me just moving in here, but say I lived in this house my whole life, right? The cops here in Durham wouldn't have an idea who I was. This community, the police from this community should live in this community. You know what I'm saying? They should understand the people that they're dealing with.
Well, it's not a requirement, but they do have a bonus. The last time I spoke to one was when I was living in Youngsville in an apartment. I had one living above me. He moved into Youngsville because he was a state trooper, but for him to actually live in his zone. And here local, there's a sheriff that I used to know. He's since moved out and doesn't work out here anymore. But he got a bonus to move to the other area where he was going to work, so he would actually live in the community. They do encourage that. It's not a requirement, but they do try.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like police should have something like Andy Griffith, right? I know realistically the whole city can't have two cops, but these 5 blocks can. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of the way it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, New York kind of thing with all their precincts the way it is. I imagine it's hard to have enough cops living in one area to do that precinct with the population that they would have. But I imagine that they all live in the greater New York City area, so they would kind of have an idea. And from the stories that I've heard and news reports, stuff like that. And I mean, you kind of get a sense that they work in an area and they're assigned to that area. They don't always rotate like you might be working in the Bronx and then you're working in, the Harlem, and then now you're working in Manhattan. They pretty much, they put them in a beat, and that's your area to cover. If you live there, great, but if not, you're still working that area every day. You're supposed to get to know those people. Now, yeah, if they're shifting them around where the cops can't get to know the people to have an idea on how to treat those said people, then yeah, you're going to have some issues, which is why I think that's why they try to keep them in the communities.
Yeah, I feel like they should do definitely more towards that, and that's what I grew up thinking cops were initially. Was basically like Andy and Barney. They're friendly guys that'll help you out if you need it. They're not out to hurt anybody. They're not going to ruin anybody's life. And I recognize that the world ain't the world of Andy Griffith's show anymore. You know what I'm saying? But
so you say, bro, I grew up in Youngsville, which you could have actually mistaken for Mayberry. It was a one-stop sign town with 3 cops, and I had a bad experience with them.
Yeah, hell, man, I actually benefited from my grandfather's membership in the Ku Klux Klan because when I got arrested in Wake County, I lived in Johnson County. So Wake County had to have a Johnson County escort. Well, while they were at my house busting me for the burglaries, they found a pot plant. Well, since that pot plant was in Johnson County, that became a Johnson County charge. At this time, the sheriff of Johnson County used to be in the Klan with my granddaddy. They knew my granddaddy. He actually knew me from when I was a little kid. And he came to my cell and told me, he said, when I got pulled to Johnson to talk about the pot plant charge, he came to my cell. He said, man, we knew you were growing pot out there. We've known. He's like, hell, because of who you were, Charles never, he never seemed to have a problem. So if Charles was all right and you weren't causing no ruckus, we left you alone, boy. But why'd you bring the neighbors into our living room? And the reason for him even knowing who I was and me getting away with growing pot, I thought I was being clever. Now, the cops knew I was growing pot down there at Mom's, but they just didn't care because of my granddaddy's affiliation with the Klan. So, yeah, the small town policing isn't always great, I guess is the moral of that story.
Now, the question that would pop up in my mind is that, yes, that has a racial annotation to saying, hey, because of the Klan member, this guy knew my granddad and I got off. But would the same have happened had they just been gone to the same church or played poker on Friday nights with no Klan at all? That same thing could have probably happened.
I think it would have actually been more likely, instead of them going to the same church, if they were in the same Mason lodge. Because that's the way the Klan that my granddaddy was in, that generation of the Klan, it was like a racist version of a Mason lodge. You had connections with all these people. It was really more about like networking, and keeping darky down. But it was mostly a networking thing, So yeah, well, I mean, it was mostly the racist thing, but for the people inside who were just naturally racist anyway, it was about networking.
That's what I'm saying. I think the networking probably played a bigger cause in that particular instance. It just happened to be a messed up coincidence that it was the Klan. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened to be the Klan.
But I think any type of familiarity would have resulted in the same outcome.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not saying that it's special in this sense because it was a Klan. I'm just saying that, hey, by the way, this sheriff, not a sheriff's deputy, this sheriff of this county was in the Klan with my granddaddy and let me grow pot for damn near a decade with impunity.
See, I mean, it could have come and busted you and shot you up, but no.
That's called white privilege. See?
Not necessarily. Y'all both could have been black, and you could put race as whatever you wanted and have the same type of familiarity and have the same type of an outcome.
True. Again, it's the connection, and the racism just happened to be a part of it.
Yeah, who you know is way more important than anything else. That's proven time and time again throughout history. How high up can you attach that string you're going to pull?
So, yeah, first off, for me to accept police and stop saying that they were all bastards, the first thing that would have to change is the criminal justice system and how, what laws are enforced and the way in which they are enforced and punished, in fact. Like, I have plenty of horror stories of prison guards and, hell, even detention officers at Wake County. There's this one, his last name was Counsel, murdered a fucking kid. Kid was in there for trespassing, like second-degree trespassing. And he was mouthing off at the guard, but dude was in a locked cell. I mean, I saw this from across the fucking day room, right? It's like 10 o'clock at night. We're all locked down in our cells. This fucking and he was black dude. Counsel's a black dude. He was originally an intake, but some guy got in with like a screwdriver, and Counsel beat the shit out of the guy with the screwdriver. So to kind of hide the investigation, they moved him upstairs, dealing with like the inmates directly instead of like in intake. He was just dealing with the upstairs and the whatnot in the dorms. So this kid starts mouthing off at Counsel, calls him like a punk bitch or something like that. So Counsel uses his key and unlocks dude's cell. He was like, well, come on out then. So dude comes out, fucking, all right, and goes for him. Counsel picks him up, drops him on his head, like scoops him up over his shoulder, drops him on his head, right? Dude, like I could hear through my cell door, I could hear, the whole dorm could hear the fucking snap when he snapped dude's neck. While dude is sitting there twitching, Counsel picks him up, repeats the move, and then fucking handcuffs him. While dude is actually fucking dead now. Counsel fucking handcuffs him, right? This shit hits the news 2 weeks later, and then also we don't see Counsel no more. So they suspended him. Then he goes to court. He actually gets charged. He gets 90 days in jail for fucking murder, right? Now, he goes into, when he goes to jail, do you think he was in general population, Mike?
Oh, hell no.
Do you think he was even in solitary confinement?
I'd be surprised if he was actually in jail.
He was in jail. He was in medical. He was in a private room in medical. He was able to have family come and bring him dinner every day. He had his own TV. He had freedom to move about the medical area. He was basically a free man. He just couldn't leave medical. His family came, spent the day with him. When my family came to see me, someone who was there for fucking burglary, when my family came to see me, it was through a fucking video screen, right? He's sitting there with his wife and his kids chilling for 90 days. And then, now he still works there. He still fucking works there. I looked that shit up today. He still fucking works there. And yeah, you could say this is like a one thing, but no, this is just the one I saw, right? It happens all throughout the criminal justice system. You know, once it's outside of the courtrooms, it's just pure fucking insanity. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if we want to get into the correction side, that's going to take a whole lot more looking into, because I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of shit in there that don't get reported right. And yeah, guards inside on that side of the courtroom. Yeah, I got a whole different feeling about those guys.
Yeah, fuck prison guards. Can we agree that all prison guards are bastards?
All prison guards are bastards. I will agree with that premise.
All right. We can talk about that in another episode, but all right, now we have
and that's one that I would say we don't absolutely need.
I'm interested.
We don't need prison guards.
How do you have prisons?
You make it where you make a prison where the door closes and it don't fucking open up from the inside.
You talking like the pit and fucking that Bane grew up in Batman?
Something similar, yeah.
Jesus, Escape from the Prison Planet much?
Well, of course, that is is built on the premise that I would have way less reasons for anybody to be winding up in a prison. And if you wind up having your freedom taken away from you, you done fucked up. So
Yeah, you have to be like a serial killer.
yeah,
Or
yeah. That's what's going to wind up there. Not somebody holding on to some drugs, or somebody just happened to be speeding too much, or somebody just got drunk one night and got in a fight. And so those people ain't going to be winding up in my prison. My prison is going to be for the people that society just says, yeah, you don't belong here.
Bro, and we can put cameras up and just watch it like the Truman Show, but it would be like Oz.
Yes, as a constant reminder of how not to fucking behave.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and look, petty crime, I feel like not even even like my burglaries and shit, right? It would have been better served rather than me sitting in prison. It would have been better served putting me to work. You know what I'm saying? It would have been better served putting me to like giving me some job training or some shit like that, which they did, you know, while I was in prison. But rather than, you know, spending all that time and money feeding me and making sure I don't go home, you know.
Oh, bro, I learned more in prison than I ever did in school.
Do what? Oh, yeah.
I got way more education in prison than I ever did in school.
Bro, when I got out of prison, now I haven't used near one of them because I find it, I find the drug to be pretty much abhorrent and I don't like it. But while I was in prison, I collected because I was bored, 3 different recipes for making crystal meth. Completely different methods that I was able to confirm with different people in there for meth. I mean, I went around talking.
Well, I guess that would fit into science, but I was really, you know, more into, you know, talking more the actual stems and, you know, science, math, technology, you know, all that good shit, actual full-fledged education. Hell, I learned how to weld and became a certified welder in prison.
Oh, I learned, well, I didn't really learn nothing far as I got a degree in fucking kitchen shit, but I didn't really learn nothing. Now when it comes to, I did also residential electrical wiring, and I got, you know, a little degree in that, and I actually learned quite a bit on that. I learned a lot about electricity.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about just how to melt metal and, you know, get a job at the local welding plant because I can, you know, hold a stick in a place and melt metal halfway decent. I mean, learning proper techniques, all the different metallurgical combinations of which rods to use in certain situations, you know, almost to the point where I could have been an inspector. I don't use it because fuck welding. But yeah, you go to your local trade school outside and you basically learn how to get a job. They don't teach you the reasons for everything behind it like the freaking instructors in prison did.
Yeah. I mean, I got out of prison, I had those 2 degrees. I had 3 different recipes for making meth. Not that I used them, but like I said, I did that because I was bored and it was something to research, something to keep my mind busy. It'd be a cool topic one day. But
yeah, I went in for, you know, my first time ever. I went into training school for a fucking crank phone call. And when I got out, I knew how to steal cars.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
You know, I came out. I had 3. I've had 3 drug dealers that I met in prison that I have called since and bought drugs from since being in prison with them. I still use one of them. You know him. So yeah,
seriously, 12 years old in 8 months. I learned how to steal cars and had a job waiting for me when I got out.
Yeah. So you're taking people who could have been that, you know, that time and money could have been spent actually doing productive things, helping them become a productive member of society. Instead, you lock them away and you teach them how to make meth or how to steal cars along with some welding, you know, which is only going to end up making them a smarter criminal.
Had they pointed me at a computer lab at that time, bro, I would have been competing with Jobs and freaking Gates, bro. But no, they didn't point me at a computer lab. They pointed me at the criminal mindset, and that's exactly what they got.
Yeah, you're in class for like 3 hours a day, but you're in prison 24 of those hours. You know what I'm saying? one day after the next consecutively. I didn't miss a day. I didn't miss one day of prison.
And my teachers were better in prison for some freaking reason. I don't understand that
Yo,
one.
I will say both of my fucking teachers that I went to when I was doing the prison courses, it was through Johnson Community College that was doing a program there at the prison. That's a big money grab too, by the way. But yeah, they actually turned out to be really cool. Both of them did. And I met some people, like some of the social workers and whatnot in the prison did the best they could with what they had. They really tried in prison to get me some mental health help, but it was very limited resources. And because I wasn't like a raving lunatic schizophrenic or something like that, they're like, well, we can't really use these resources on you. You're going home in a couple of years and you're not like, violently psychotic. So, yeah, I mean, they did the best they could with the resources they have. But like I said, it's not, people shouldn't be warehoused like that. It's pointless unless they're an extreme detriment to society. Once I was busted for burglary, I had no more desire to do burglary. If they could have let me out, they could have arrested me for it, charged me with it, and sent me home. And you know what? I wouldn't have broken no goddamn houses between then and court.
So what? The police action would have stopped you?
What do you mean?
You said once you got busted for burglary, you had no more desire for burglary. So the police interaction is what.
Yeah, getting in trouble for doing something makes you realize, well, maybe I ain't that good at doing it.
So the police are good, and prison bad. False dichotomy, I know, but I just had to bring that up. It was too easy.
That's a logical fallacy, Mike.
It was too easy.
It wasn't the police. It was, being exposed.
So
that was really
the same thing had happened had one of the people came home and caught you.
Yes. Well, no. And I can actually say that because it did make me one time I broke into a garage and somebody was home. And me and the person I was with ran away in the darkness. Because the dude was just chilling in his garage at 2 a.m. with the lights off. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. But, what mattered was when he fucking saw me and I saw him, I had about 15 seconds. I closed that door, ran out the main garage door, and we fucking hauled ass. And, he was shooting out in the trees at us. I then learned how to do more careful research and make sure that there was nobody home. So it didn't stop me from doing it, but it made me more careful about doing it.
But the cops catching you and giving you a punishment for it, that did.
Being exposed to the public by it.
Well, that would have been enough of a punishment. We can call that would have been enough of the punishment, consequence, so to speak, not instead of a punishment.
Yeah, and all right. I'm okay. I'm caught. Y'all got me. Y'all win. And if I get caught again doing the same thing, well, then that's just fucking stupid, right? So,
well, how many people would use that to their advantage, right?
Sure, some.
Okay, and then we probably had something like that before, or tried something like that before in some place or another, and got tired of it. Well, we've already given you a chance, and we've already given you another chance. I mean, that's what the probation system's usually for. They put me on probation first. Well, no, the first thing they threw me under the bus for that prank phone call, but after that it was they would give me probation and see if I could behave myself, and I couldn't, of course. So
there was something I thought of while I was in prison, and I've given us some thought since prison, and I realize I find my opinion hasn't really changed. That it would have been more humane as a punishment to cut off my hand.
It would have been way more humane. The shit that I've had to happen and the shit that I've had to witness while I was, in these correctional facilities and, training schools.
Dude, I still
Tell you
have
straight up,
dreams
training
about-
schools are fucking worse than goddamn adult prisons, though, bro. If you think you've seen some shit in a fucking adult prison, take your fucking ass to a goddamn training school where you got a bunch of 13 to 16-year-olds trying to act like what they think the prisoners act like.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous. I understand. I know. And it's a fucking nightmare, right? And like I said, I would have, and to this day, I still think, yeah, you know, that hand missing is a constant reminder. You only get 2 more shots, you know? And I was caught, like, red-handed, right? I was busted.
Now, I'm not saying we should cut people's hands off for stealing. No, I mean, I hope you're not either. But yes, I do agree that it would have been more humane than the current penal system that we have.
Yeah. So, you know, there's got to be other ways. You know, there's got to be another way. I'm not saying what I did was right and I deserve to get off scotch-free. But if I'm saying that cutting off my hand would have been more humane, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, you know, that for burglary, nobody was home, you know, nobody was harmed. They were scared a little bit when their stuff was gone. But burglary.
Yeah, you don't rehabilitate a thief, a common thief, by putting them into a place where they have to fight for every fucking meal, fight for every night's sleep, fight for basic existence with the constant threat of death, torture, or rape.
Yeah, and not to mention additional charges.
That's not the way to rehabilitate any fucking body. You put people in a place like that, there's no rehabilitation for the people you've given up on. That's where they go because that's what they've done. That's what they like. That's what they think, you know, and apparently they should deserve in some cases. You know, some people would disagree there, but you know, a rapist, yeah, I don't give a fuck if he gets raped or she gets raped, you know, because there are females that do it too.
Well, I mean, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
No, it doesn't. But if they're going to do it to themselves,
Right. I mean, if you took all the pedophiles and put them on an island that they couldn't escape from, I mean, you know, who's really losing anything?
yeah, exactly. You know, if you want to put all the murderers on an island so they can kill themselves, I don't care. You know, it saves us some drugs and bullets.
Yeah, you know, let them hunt each other.
But some kid that fucking stole a car because he saw a fucking movie or something, and he done something stupid because he's 13. Some kid that, you know, some guy that's low on his money, got to pay his damn rent, and he goes out and steals something for thinking that's going to be the solution. You know, you don't fucking put them in places that.
Gets caught, goes to prison for 90, gets locked up for 90 days, gets out, and is homeless.
Another easiest way to stop a fucking thief from stealing shit, give the motherfucker a way to make money.
Yeah. You know, shit, I'd have been damn good at fucking burglary prevention, fucking, you know, making homes more secure against burglary. I was damn good at getting in a house.
you know, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from starting your own consulting service to go around and talk to people about the security of their homes. In fact, there was a guy on the Discovery Channel that did a TV show about that shit.
It was called To Catch a Thief, and it is extremely hard to fucking find. But the dude gave real advice.
Yeah,
the dude legit broke into these houses on TV. It's hard as fuck to find now because they're like, well, we don't want people to have a how-to manual. I'm like, well, it was on the same time I was doing it, and I'm sitting there watching it like, yeah, he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sure he's probably known somebody or probably done it himself and reformed, you know, but nothing's stopping you from doing it, man. You know, this is America. It might not be easy without a whole lot of money to start, but nothing's stopping you.
Man. So the system is a bastard. The criminal justice system, the legal system, the system that makes the laws that the cops enforce are bastards, right?
And as the system is a construct of the mass of the people, therefore, People are bastards.
No. The system, as with all the lobbyists and the bullshit that goes on with the system is not a construct of the majority of people. The system is a construct of the few, of the elite, of the top fucking 10%.
Hang on a second. That might be that might be a small percentage of the lobbyists that go on, but you got to think fucking like, you know, one of the big lobbyist groups to go after on this. Let's go ahead and pull them out of the hat, and it was the NRA. NRA, people say the NRA is doing this, the NRA is doing that. The NRA ain't doing jack shit on their own, folks. NRA is a big interest group that happens to have millions of supporters. They are acting on the interest of the millions of supporters that they have. That's how they have all the money that they have to put all this crap into place. And it is because a large percentage of the population supports the NRA. Therefore, the NRA has a lot of power to push around because a lot of people are giving them money.
Right.
That's a lobbyist there in a nutshell.
That is one example, right? But you have to look at the other examples, the ones that you say are the minority. Well, my brain just emptied out. Okay, yeah. Like Monsanto and shit like that with their lobbyists. You get lobbyists in there for like the drug companies. You got lobbyists, the oil company the oil lobbyists. It goes on, and the lobbyists. It's not so much the gun rights lobbyists and even the pro-life lobbyists that are out there. It's the corporate lobbyists, right?
So
Those
where
are the
riots
really
in the streets for all the atrocities that these mega corporations acting as people with public power and the ability to control our government and our laws? Where's the riots on that? Where's all the unrest there?
I agree. I thought the George Floyd protest was going to be the turning point, and it ended up it did not.
Well, unfortunately, that protest had the same thing as everything else does. It has a statistically small beginning. It is a horrible tragedy. Every single one of them, I'll say it again, is a horrible tragedy. But when you look at the statistics, it's a 0.002% chance of something like that happening, of that particular entrance, of a person getting killed by a police officer. And it is so infinitesimally small that it is statistically not worthy of mention. But however, it has taken center stage here almost for 10 years.
Well, the reason is, it's not so much the George Floyd that was killed and the cop that killed him that the protest is about. On the surface, that's what it is. But when you get down to it, the frustration, the reason there's such an outcry about it, it becomes from the frustration of this whole problem we've been talking about, this whole fucking systemic issues, all of these fucking deep seated with the criminal justice system, the legislations, the fucking the lobbyists, the whole corrupt fucking world. It's the frustration out of that. And George Floyd, it was a one straw too many type thing, right?
Yes. It was a turning point, a tipping point. But unfortunately, like I said, it had that small foundation. When you put it to the rest of the world stage and they look at it, why is this happening? That's the cause. Why is that such a big issue? Nobody has the attention span to look at the larger picture.
Yeah, I know. And I was hoping for basically the French Revolution, and I didn't get that. But we were on our way. It was on its way, and then it lost steam. And that's why I say, like, those protests that were the major riot. The major riots and whatnot that are protesting that. I don't know where they are. I wish I knew. That's what we need to be out there fucking fighting. Bring back Occupy Wall Street.
Corporatism's got to go. That is the biggest cause of issues in the societal structure of what we have out there that I can point to.
Physically remove the lobbyists from the fucking halls of government.
Yes, they have too much money to make things happen.
Corporation. Yeah, exactly. And until we take that out, and to me, that's what the system is comprised of. They might be comprised of people that are, put their pants on just like we do, but ultimately they're working for these fucking lobbyists, these companies that are sending these lobbyists, these
Yes.
corporatists.
We allow money to
And-
start influencing policy, and then we allow corporations to act as people, and corporations have more money than the people.
Right.
There's the problem, folks.
So the system is a bastard.
Yes, and we created it.
So the
Well,
prison
the
guards
people,
are a
not we.
bastard. The system is a bastard. The corporations that run the system are bastards. And the only people not bastards are the cops.
They're just as much of as a victim as we are, in my opinion, man.
The
Yes.
man inside the uniform, I agree with you. He is just a human being.
Now, the use of our law enforcement system is definitely a problem, but it's not the cops. It's bigger than that. And the issue that brought all of it to light is with the whole, police brutality and, excessive police violence. Well, the numbers don't support that hypothesis. Well, that theory or even that, that posit, the numbers don't support the data. It's not true.
It's still an unacceptable amount. It's still an unacceptable amount of police brutality.
What's acceptable?
No amount of police brutality is acceptable. The ideal amount of being beaten by your oppressors,
Okay, we got to define. We got to define where the brutality ends and just the violence is, and what actually constitutes with both. With I would say brutality is excessive, violence and like uncalled for. And any of that's, none of that's acceptable in any part of society.
Okay.
Even us rednecks don't fucking tolerate that shit.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But however, violence is acceptable to a point. Kid in the school shooting up other kids, we want them to shoot the shooter. We're mad at the guys in Uvalde for not shooting somebody.
Exactly. For fuck's sake, do your job. If I have to accept you.
So what's the acceptable limit?
Well, I think we've already established that, right? It's self-defense and defense of others.
Right. So if we're going on that, then there's no problem here. There's no there. The 0.002% chance of anybody having death by a cop for any reason whatsoever. 0.002. That dude. That's not worth mentioning there. That's not the problem that we should be talking about. That's a distraction that happened to come up by media.
I agree with you. The police brutality is just one thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just one cog in the wheel. It's just one. What was it? The death of 1,000 cuts type thing. It's just one cut.
Well,
yeah, sure. It's minute.
I think it brings people like us to look larger picture style. Some get a little caught up on the small scale issue a little too much because it's closer to where you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I got a small circle of what I care about around me, but I do have a tendency to look at things from multiple perspectives. I try to understand why somebody does something and not just give a shit about what they're doing.
Well, I know how I want to be treated, and at that bare minimum is what I try to treat everybody around me with, right?
And at 99.998% chance, that's exactly what's gonna freaking happen, man. Well, at least 85%, because 85% of people are happy with the time they talk to the cops.
And see, I wouldn't mind. Like, again, part of my problem with it is the way they approach these situations, right? Like I've said before, like, to me, there's no point in time that I've been pulled over by the cop and not felt threatened, right? Not felt like I'm in some form of danger, not necessarily just my life, but in danger of going to prison.
Interesting correlation. 85% of the people are happy with their visit with the cop. That means 15% of the people aren't. You know that about 16% of the people live in poverty in this country?
How about that? And so So the problem there is don't be poor, right? That's just the solution.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that obviously ain't going to be the answer, Mike.
Well, that's an easy
That might be the
solution. We
current answer.
just cut 1 year of
final solution?
cut 1 year of military spending of the United States budget, and we can eliminate poverty in this country.
For real, dude. We really could.
1 year.
Dude, I was even thinking about, and this is something of a tangent, but I've been wanting to run it by you to see what you think, right?
Now, I'm not talking about handing people the money. I'm talking about actually putting out things to get people jobs and get people careers.
I'm not talking about handing out money either. But
I just wanted to be clear on that. I'm not talking about like a handout kind of a thing. You just give that money to the people and poverty's over. No, I'm talking about using it to create situations for people to better themselves.
Yeah, a new deal.
Yeah, like maybe put it in infrastructure and hire a bunch of people to learn how to do paving and locating and utility work, stuff like that.
Exactly, because our infrastructure is crumbling. But no, what? God damn it! What was I going to say?
You just hate that.
Yeah. I need a pocket stenographer. Boy, I'm like, I wish you could see me. My eyes are squinting.
We just need our little AI thing to go ahead and type every damn thing we're thinking.
Well,
we won't shoot her.
We ought to do an episode like that and just not tell anybody what it is, where the whole script was written by AI.
Oh my God.
Just to see if people catch on. But no, my side tangent I wanted to talk about, right? It's about, and I'm first off, it's about wealth redistribution, right? Calm down, easy there, easy there.
You're fucking Robin Hood, motherfucker.
my theory, my concept is that when a person reaches a certain amount of liquid wealth, right, liquid assets, let's say $5 billion. Their account is cut off and they are given a bank card. No spending limit, right? They can buy whatever house they want. They can have whatever they want. They can never run out of money. And they can hand this card down and it can even to their children, right? They can hand this down to a generation. Now, that would stop the hoarding of wealth, right? They never have a limit. They can do anything they want. They never have to work another day in their life. They can if they want to, but what is the point of earning if you never need anything else, right? After a few years of this surplus wealth would be in the system. You're not just handing it out to people, but it's money that's not being hoarded, not sitting in a bank account somewhere gathering interest. It's actually going out and being spent. After a while, maybe we can bring that number down, right? Say from, 5 billion is what I said before, bring it down to 1 billion. And maybe after 10, 15 years of that, you can say 500 million. And maybe with enough automation and shit going on, maybe in 100 years, everybody has one of these cards. How do you feel about that?
I feel if we're going to actually put a control on, money in any way, shape, fashion, or form, then we just need to eliminate money and eliminate commerce and, just focus everybody on production of things. But then you get, people are going to collect things. People are collectors. There's no real need in telling somebody that they can't earn. Just because somebody builds a multi-billion-dollar company that generates income because everybody decides to give them money, it's not his fault.
Well, look,
you want to stop somebody
endless
from getting money, stop giving it to them.
Well, yeah, but if money is endless, if money is endless, then that's fine, right? But it's not. If it was endless, it's worthless. And if the top 1% holds like 90% of the wealth or whatever the fuck it is, what does that say for the rest of the fucking 99%? You know, that's just simply not fair. When they have anything they ever wanted and more, why keep the leftovers? You know,
Okay.
why hoard the fucking leftovers? Why not scrape them into the fucking bin?
But they're not just grabbing it from anybody, they're actually generating it. They
They
build
generate an upward flow. That's all that really seems to happen. There's an upward flow. It goes up and out, and it never comes back down.
Well, that's the way economics works. I mean, if I take a $1 transaction from each person I meet, then the more people I meet and get a dollar from, the more money I'm going to have. That's just the way it works. If I have a product that costs $1, I want every person on the planet to buy one. I've got $8 billion.
And as long as you're also handing $1 to everybody you meet, as long as you're doing the same thing, as long as that money stays in circulation, it just gets passed around. The
problem is everybody doesn't have a reason for me to give them $1. You know, the reason people are giving me $1 is because I have a reason that they want to give me $1. Call it a phone, call it a dongle, call it a paperclip, call it weed, call it whatever the hell you want to give your dollar to. You're giving your dollars away. It's you doing it. You don't want your dollar going to Bill Gates. Don't buy shit that Bill Gates has money going into and coming out of. You don't want Jobs having the money. Don't buy an Apple. You don't want whoever. Don't buy the shit.
As these companies merge and buy each other up, it's getting harder and harder to say who's getting your money at the end of the day. It basically who's actually getting your money at the end of the day is we're
victims of shit we created.
Well, I didn't create capitalism. I am subjected to it and I have to live under it, but I didn't create it. I don't want it.
If you separate corporatism and capitalism and actually look what capitalism truly is in its nature, in its true form, in its original form, you would be a capitalist.
I don't know, man. At my heart, I'm such a tribal communist, you know? Like, I honestly feel that society is structured completely wrong, and we should go back to living in, like, semi-nomadic fucking small roving tribes.
Okay, so just because you can make a will, you have to make a will for everybody every time they want a will.
What?
Yeah, that would be what that kind of society would require. If you have a skill or you have some type of thing that you know how to do that other people do not know, then if they want it, you would have to do it every single time they want it.
Well, and how did fucking the tribal people get by so well then? They remained untouched over here in North America, at least. They remained untouched for thousands of years, developed their own societies based around these general egalitarian, communal property.
Yeah, because the person that knew how to make arrowheads had to make arrowheads, or everybody died. He had to teach other people how to make arrowheads for when he died. And if you didn't learn how to make arrowheads, as a group, nobody else learned how to make arrowheads. If that guy died, y'all were fucked. Yes. Yeah, that's why I said that's what that kind of society requires, is you're a slave to that system as well. Even more so.
I feel like that system is more natural the way humans are, right?
Yes, I mean, absolutely.
We are primates, and I feel like our societal structures, not like our, the way we act or whatnot, but the way our societies should work kind of like primate societies.
That works wonderful when you've got small groups of people and lots of room around you.
I agree. Like I said, my dream of the world requires Thanos, and absolutely. I don't on the big picture type of scheme, when I'm looking at just the big picture, the overall thing, I'm not opposed to Thanos or the Borg or some combination of both.
I mean, everybody's a socialist at heart. I mean, myself included, everybody is a socialist at heart. And if you think you're not, I challenge you to look around your house and look at your family and name me one thing you wouldn't give up for them. Go for it. I'm waiting. Yeah, that's what I thought. You're a socialist at heart. Just how big of a circle you want to put around that socialist network. There's your issue. I am socialist core to the bone when it comes to my family and friends. Outside of that circle, though, I don't give a fuck about you. You're not getting my shit. Sorry, that's just my mentality. Yes, I know it's my own personal flaw, but and I'm working on it. But you can't fault me for being me. That's just the way I've turned out.
All you have to do is work on it. All you have to do is work on expanding your circle.
Yes,
right?
I know I have a problem and I do work on it, but I am a victim of society. I am the product of the societal pressures and everything that I went through. That shit, that's real. Nature over nurture kind of stuff. There's good and bad to both sides of it, but both do produce results. And I'm a product of it. And if I cared more, I'd have a larger circle of people that I would give the shirt off my back. And honestly, if the more people begging on the street corner with these signs up, I barely pay them attention. But if somebody actually walks up to me and says, "Hey, bro, I ain't had food in 3 fucking days. You got $1 or something?" I'm likely to go in there and buy them some fucking food.
Yeah. I mean, I think of myself as fairly nice to people. I try to be. I try to give everybody, the same respect that I want. I generally just want to be left alone.
In fact, a couple of weeks ago, when I went up to go meet the medicine man, I had a gentleman. I stopped to get me some smokes, and a guy popped me on the way in and says, "Man, I've been down on my luck. Any way I could talk you into getting me a pack of the cheapest damn smokes they got in there?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Sure, why not? It's some strange thing to be asking for, but all right, whatever." And I got him a pack of the cheap smokes as I got mine, and got out and I gave him cigarettes, and carried on a little bit of a polite conversation because he questioned about my weapon I was carrying, and then he asked me if I could keep taking him across the street, get him something to eat. He ain't had nothing to eat all day. I was like, "You should ask him for that first, bro. Sorry."
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. It's good, but yeah, and like I said, man, it's usually the ones with the signs. They always have, "Oh, God bless," and that turns me off right there. I would actually, be more inclined to hand somebody a sign that had a sign that says, "I have a drug habit and need drugs." I would be more inclined to give them $1 than the homeless with 3 kids, sleeping outside a hotel. "Please help, God bless." It's like, no, I don't believe you. And if God isn't blessing you, what the fuck do you think he's going to do to bless me? So.
Yeah, that's me. If you're still waiting on God to help you, then I can't help you.
Don't let me stop you. Yeah, if you're waiting on God, don't let me stop you.
Yeah, when I see you getting rid of that responsibility, shelter, and taking responsibility for your own bullshit, then I might give you a leg up if I can help you, if I can help myself first.
Shit, you need a couple dollars if you get it fixed so you ain't coming down so hard. I got it. I understand. Fuck, dude. You hungry? You ain't had nothing to eat. You need fucking bus fare. I got it here. It's fine, but don't spill at me with some nonsense.
Yeah, society is the greater problem. The way we look at a top-down perspective, the people up top looking down at us, that is the problem. And I'm pretty damn sure that the data, I need a closer look at it, but it looks like the data is pointing toward the poverty line because the same percentage of people being in the cops incidences, yes, blacks are more than whites. But when you look at the number of poverty, how many blacks are in poverty, how many whites are in poverty, the number of people in poverty,
it lines up
dead even. I mean, a few percentage points here or there, man, depending on which study you're looking at, but it's pretty much across the board. You're equally as likely to have a bad instance with a cop or any type of authority figure if you are poor. much more likely that is the cause than race, in my opinion. Now, that's not a fact. I cannot state that as a fact because I do not know. We need more research into this shit.
Yeah, I think it's a big factor. It certainly has a lot to do with my encounters with police. Um, and as long as the people on the top looking down on us in the poverty line down here, as long as they're using the police to not just do violence on us, but oppress us and make life difficult for us, then I'm always going to resent the police, every one of them. Again, not the human being inside the uniform, but the uniform, the cop, not the policeman. Right? I have nothing against policemen. Like I said, Andy Griffith is a policeman.
Well, that is probably one of our poor folks'
problem.
problem is we can't fucking focus on one damn thing that might be the problem. Instead, we're focusing on too many small things that are distracting us from what really is the problem. We need to find that.
Yeah, yeah.
And we need to focus on it, and we need to get it changed because this is still America. And if we can use our own rules that are still in effect, a small group of people can still affect change.
Right on.
Are still a republic.
Well, I don't know, man. I'm starting to wonder how much of that is just a show. Like I have been for several years, actually, wondering how much of it is a show. And the more time goes on, the more I realize this is exactly what you would expect if it was all fake.
Well, things are happening that people are wanting to happen as we speak. Look at the marijuana laws. Those shits are changing because of the public's opinion. That's what we got to do. And we can do it like that on a grand scale and wait another 30 years for something to change, or we can go the other direction, which, has resulted in changes. But unfortunately, in my opinion, those changes, though they are good changes, had we focused at the right problem, could have actually resulted in better.
Well, dude, every time I light a joint, you know what I'm saying? Every time I light a joint, I'm taking a small part in putting pressure on them. You know what I'm saying? Because of people's refusal to stop smoking pot and to continue finding ways to get pot have made it to where the pressure on them is constant to change the laws. And like I said, every time I light a joint, it is in clear defiance. There's the part of it that I smoke pot for the effect, but also there's this is me defying you. This is your me saying change.
Yeah, and
like you can pass a ridiculous law that I disagree with, and I'm just not going to follow it. And as long as I'm harming no one, I shouldn't go to prison for this. Because this shouldn't even be a fucking law. And the person who's going to put me in prison for it, while the human being isn't the bastard, the cop that's putting the handcuff on me is. You get what I'm saying? When I say all cops are bastards, I'm not talking about the human beings. I'm not talking about the policemen. I'm talking about the system that they're doing it for.
Okay.
They're bosses.
Somebody's got to take that job. They're going to find somebody to take that job. Even if it's a good versus evil kind of situation, they got enough evil people to take that job, even if we're going that far with it, right? Even if we can take it to the absolute extreme black and white dichotomy kind of situation, if we get all the good cops to leave the law enforcement, the system will find people to put there. Now, would you rather the good people that are trying and still have their moralities in check that aren't taking out their billy clubs and beating the shit out of everybody? Or would you rather the system replace them with people or robots that will be beating the shit out of everybody?
I would rather replace them with very well-trained, compassionate people who actually care about the community, who have been weeded through an actual, system. People who are going to be pieces of shit, they're not going to make it through the training, most likely. You know what I mean? You're always going to have these bad actors, but you're going to have less of them. You know what I'm saying? And
the data's been showing we're headed that direction, man.
Yeah, and we need to keep that up, and hopefully we get there before the companies buy out all the rest of the cops and start putting in the AI and, RoboCop becomes a thing.
Okay, so
Like,
can
I
we
didn't
take all
know-
this daggone, all this energy and angst that we're trying to fight the system, instead of focusing it on, well, yeah, we got to keep some focused on Trump now, but instead of focusing on little law enforcement issues and little tiny local issues, let's get together, organize, and focus it on the bigger problem.
I agree. Now, the thing is, though, when you go up fighting against these things, you're going to have there's fighting in like Congress and shit like that, but there's also going to be the ground level, the soldiers, and that's who you're fighting against. Their soldiers are the police. That's why they get swept up in it. You know what I'm saying? They're the military arm of this state. Then they are now the enemy soldier of this of the people trying to fight the state, trying to change things, fighting against the status quo. That's no es bueno.
It'd be so easy to stop corporate interest from doing whatever the hell they wanted, but it actually requires people that want to make the change to make the change. And unfortunately, most people don't want to make a change because they love the life they have. We're always going to have corporate interests fucking with us unless we actually take, action to get the corporate laws out of our politics. That shit's got to go. But we're voting the same fucking people in, that do the exact same things. We don't get fresh blood in there that makes any changes, and we keep the people in there that aren't making changes for fucking damn near life.
Well, those are the choices we get, right? I mean, we could vote third party, and I think if we ever did have like a big third party win,
and see, one group of people actually tried to do a little bit of a riot about that kind of actual shit that was the problem. They had a false reason of why they wanted to do it, but the target was at least correct. I'm not trying to justify that particular riot in any way, but that's an example of at least picking the correct target.
Which riot?
January 6th.
Sort of, yeah.
They picked the right target. They did it for the wrong reasons, and all that good shit. I'm not trying to justify it, but they went for the fucking target. They saw a problem they believed was the problem, and they went for it.
But they went for the throat with looking objectively, their motivations and who they were aside and why they were there aside. They went for the throat with half measures. You know what I'm saying? They went
barely any measure.
Yeah, they went for the throat in the most disorganized nonsense way, and to a degree, the disorganization was at first it seemed like it was part of the plan, but and it seemed to be working fairly well.
And that's why I can't call it an insurrection. I call it a riot to this damn day. I will not call that an insurrection. Yes, I get it, but technically, if you stretch the definition, it can cover that, but because they did have the idea that they were going to be overthrow this bullshit, the proceedings. That is
insurrection.
Yes. But I don't think all the people had that idea.
I'm not sure that all the people
did. A couple of loonbats
I'm not sure all the people knew their fucking names. But the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, they knew what they were doing. The people with the Kekistan flags, they knew what they were doing.
I don't think it was to actually. What they weren't. Well, some of them were probably going to go in there and actually think they were going to do something big and bad. But I guarantee you, when they walked in there, if they even got in there, they wouldn't do nothing but yell and scream.
If they would have got hold of Nancy Pelosi, she'd be dead.
I don't believe it.
I believe it. I believe it 100%. They would have ripped her to pieces with their bare fucking hands.
Now, would they have put her down and done some, unspeakable things? Possibly.
Oh, They damn near, months later, they damn near killed her husband looking for her. So that mob at that moment, and you can hear the audio. They were going to kill Pelosi. They had the scaffold. They had the fucking gallows. They were going to kill Pelosi for
You
damn
talking about the
sure. And
gallows
Mike
that
Pence was,
they keep putting up on the picture all over the news?
yeah, but they built it.
You know that thing couldn't hang a midget, right?
No, I mean, but they would. You don't think that would have stopped them from killing her? Like they were going to. They would have. And I think Mike Pence. They kept saying hang Mike Pence and shit. I believe 100% they meant what they said. If they had got their hands on him, Pelosi for sure would have been fucking killed.
Well, if that's an insurrection, then we've missed a big ass opportunity in, what was it, 16?
That's what I said. Like, goddamn, you almost had it, you dumb fucks.
I mean, hell, in 16,
Like,
they're
I
talking
didn't
about blowing
support
up the White House, and they had like 2.5 fucking million people there and fucking doing all kinds of shit.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah, the riots after 16.
I don't remember what you're talking.
I remember
talking
Madonna.
after
After the election, I think it might actually been right after the inauguration for the whole DC riots.
Yeah, there was a bunch of bullshit with that too. And that's the thing. They could have done it, but no, half measures is all we fucking get. Empty promises, and a bunch of fucking cops.
Yeah, we can do it without riots, but I mean, hell, folks, if y'all want to riot, at least pick the right damn target, organize, and get it fucking right.
Study the French Revolution as a how-to manual. They got shit done. They changed They changed the world they lived in.
And just remember, if you put something in place that's worse than what we got, expect another one.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah, I don't know what we would do in place of it, but I do know that there are some changes that we can make. And yes, some of them will curb some of a couple of the numbers on the police violence stuff. But like you keep bringing up going in with what was it, a counselor first for some of these situations. Now, there's always that what if situation. Well, you've already got, let's say, two people. The person that's having some issues, and let's say somebody that they're intending to harm. Not always the other person involved. It could be some one person, but let's put an actual danger in there and say that he's a danger to others as well. Well, this person is a danger to others as well. You don't know the situation when you get the call to go there. Some concerned citizens probably call. This is where most of the calls come from. So you're going into a situation, you don't know what the situation is. You're on hearsay. Somebody reported somebody's acting strange and it looks like they're armed. Okay. You're going to send, so you've already got one person there that could be in danger. That person, right? The person with the weapon, because you don't know. They could be suicidal. They could be going on, hunting for other people. You don't know. So then you got the general public around them is at danger. So that's your danger scenario. And you're going to send another unarmed person in. So now you're adding one more person to the danger scenario for the hope.
Oh, I never said like totally unarmed. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty, like I said, there's fucking, there's tranquilizers, there's fucking tasers, there's plenty of ways you can go into the situation with, some way to subdue somebody.
How long does a
putting a bullet
take?
in their head. Them fucking ketamine, it's instant. That shit takes them right down. Hell, you saw when I did ketamine. I did a little bump of ketamine, and 2 seconds later, I'm fucking drunk. Imagine a much higher dose, directly under the skin. It's instant, dude. Like they're already testing it in some cities. Like people undergoing mental health crises and whatnot, paramedics will give them a fucking tranquilizer dose of ketamine, and they're down. They're no longer a threat.
Well, it shit don't work that damn fast in animals, but so if it worked that fast as an injection on us, that'd be surprising. But if it does,
It does.
it does. It still opens
they've
up a
been
whole
experimenting with
nother
it.
can of worms.
But yeah, sure, somebody could die, right, from some sort of reaction to the ketamine, but less people would be dying than somebody going in there trigger happy, scared to death with the fucking live gun with live round on them. The what?
Okay, if they have a less than lethal, let's call it a less than lethal, round that they can fire at somebody, would they be more likely to actually fire that weapon to contain a situation? Probably so. So then how many people are going to have adverse reactions out of this and end up dead anyway? Granted, we don't know these, but the number's not going to be zero. So we're still going to have people dying by police
but it
interactions.
Would be better. Like you said, I have to look more into see how this study is going. I follow it a little bit here and there, and but it seems like even if there are reactions to the ketamine, and there are deaths that occur from that, and cops are using not just ketamine but rubber bullets or whatever, and people are dying, and they're using them more often, and people are dying from them. I still feel it would be you have a more chance. You have a better chance of surviving. People in a mental health crisis don't need to be shot and killed, right? I mean, sometimes they're not even fucking really fully aware of where they are and what's going on. They could be having a full psychotic. They could be the nicest person, and their mind just fucking. They have a brain tumor or something like fucking Charles Whitman, and their brain just snapped. Right now, Whitman, they had to bring him down.
Well, if the person has a mental issue, then okay, but you don't know. You don't even know while you're talking to them if it's a mental issue or not.
Right. Well, for one, you're not trained in recognizing it truly. You can't tell the difference between somebody having a mental health crisis or somebody on having a bad drug reaction, to which I say is the same thing.
Or somebody has just finally said, fuck it. Their mental issue set aside. They have already said, fuck it. I'm checking out.
Well, then they're going to end up where they're going to end up anyway, right? There was no, there's no escalation of violence there. They were already going to be violent.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know the situation when we get there. Yeah, okay. We need better training on cops, at least so that they can recognize the situation and call somebody. But if you get a cop there, okay, this is a bad situation. I need to call for a counselor. Now we've got a time clock going on whether or not this person's going to be doing something. Okay. Now we can say, we at least bought them another 30 minutes. Did we? What happens if they accidentally, pop off the shot and kill somebody else that had nothing to do with the situation? That person could have been saved. There's the yin and the yang for both sides of this. And the thing is, even with the tranquilizer thing, the odd is the result is not going to be zero of people that are going to die from that specifically. And if it's not zero, then what are we even talking about? Because the odds of getting killed by a police officer are damn near zero.
But we can't getting that number lower is a bad thing. Like that's where I'm not following. It's like making less people die as opposed to more people dying. That's wrong somehow. Like, people will still be dying, accepted. People are going to die no matter what. Well, but can we harm reduction a little bit?
Can we put the blame back towards society for not catching the people like that before that becomes an issue?
Right. We need better. We definitely need better, like, mental health care and shit like that in the country.
Again,
absolutely.
I don't blame the cops for this situation.
Job. It shouldn't be the cop's job.
There you go. So they're even doing things they shouldn't have to be doing under that same stress and threat and public opinion.
Yeah, they shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be getting sent there.
No, they shouldn't be, and they don't have to be. we can change that very easily. We just haven't. In fact, we went the other way with that.
No, we don't get to choose where the fucking money goes once the government takes it.
We used to have a fairly decent mental health program. It's went completely downhill and pretty much gone now. Now, I'm not saying the old school mental health program was great because, fucking asylums and stuff probably wasn't. But that evolved. That evolved kind of much like the police did into something that was actually somewhat productive to the society that they actually wanted. And then we got the modern medical version of mental health. And if you see that on your local area, imagine that 10 times larger. And that's where we were at in the 80s. And then it declined.
And we started sending all that money to the police. We started sending all that money that was going there. We started sending it to the police and to the prisons. That's what happened.
Again,
we robbed mental health care.
Not the problem with the police. It's a problem with the system that's using it.
Yeah, agreed. It's not the policeman. It's the system.
On some of these, I would say more that than just the system. It's the communities. I mean, communities have the power if they really want to solve these problems to pull together and do it. We don't pay attention to it. And until it affects our lives, and then we complain about it and expect somebody else to do it.
Hell, the Black Panthers did a pretty damn good job.
I ain't saying all of us ignore it. Some people do pull together, and like it's way too little for the amount of uproar that we have. For the people that are complaining about all the inequity in educations or whatever you want to pick subject there. There's so many people that will complain about it. If they pulled their resources, they could fix the problem.
I agree. That's why I brought up the Black Panthers. They used to police their own. They would take over neighborhoods, and they basically would run the cops out and police it themselves. And lo and behold, wouldn't you know, people ain't getting their heads busted by cops, and people aren't going to jail for nonsense shit. Fucking, there was law and order in the streets, because the cops were run out.
Like homelessness.
Granted, this is.
You want to solve homelessness in your community? Or your community get together, rent a big ass fucking house, and then take donations, from the people that come through there to stay until they get on their fucking feet.
And then watch you start doing that, and within fucking no time at all, some law gets passed banning it.
Of course, because the rest of society doesn't want poor people coming up into we can't have those people joining us. That's the problem.
Well, take away the weapon that they're using to enforce their nonsense.
They'll just replace it with more effective ones.
Yeah, drones.
What you're advocating for will have that coming faster. See, I'm a conservative here. I want to maintain the status quo as long as I can because I see what's coming is worse. So,
well, my thing is there's a lot of things I think we would have to completely change the system, right? The system that policing works in to fix the police system, and we got to change the whole fucking system anyway. The whole thing's fucking wrong. It's sitting here from the bottom looking up, it's pretty fucking far.
Well, I've never been successful at starting me a cult, so I doubt I'd be able to start an organization and get any movement behind that.
No, I was born in the wrong generation for that, bro. Or in the wrong country. If I was in Uganda, apparently I could still start a suicide cult based on Baptist Christianity.
Any of y'all folks want to start a damn movement, target corporatism. That's our ill. Those are the people who's got the money that are really destroying what we have and stopping it to the way we can actually enact the changes that we, the people, want.
Part of my fight against capitalism has to do with the fact that capitalism is the tool they use, and I want to take away their tools, their system, their laws, their law enforcement. I want to take all their shiny toys away from them.
Stop buying their shit. Buy local.
I try to. I really do try to a lot. Like I pay extra going to like co-op markets and shit like that whenever I can. Yeah, it's more expensive, but I don't feel like a piece of shit when I leave the store. You know, and that's something I would encourage everybody to do. Find your local co-op market and fucking spend money there any way you can. It's the only way to fight against the corporates.
Absolutely. Use capitalism. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to use their shiny tool against them because they won't let you not.
No, you have to use the weapon that they're trying to use against you.
Right. You can't fight a lightsaber battle with a regular sword. You also have to have a lightsaber.
Well, we already have the lightsaber. They're the ones that picked it up and are using it against us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I use their shiny tool. I would rather them not have their shiny.
It's our tool, man. It's our tool.
But not as long as they have their hands on it.
No, they just used it, took advantage of our stupidity and our blindness, man. They used our tool against us. And then when they got all of our money because we willingly gave it to them, then they said, oh, by the way, I'm paying this guy a whole lot of money to say you can't do that. Ha ha.
Yeah. Well, fuck you and that guy then, right?
Well, fuck all of us for giving him the damn money to do it.
Agreed. Agreed.
Okay, so yeah, you can point to capitalism being the evil because that's what we use to give all our money to this person. But wait a minute, that was our choice. Nobody forced me to give that money to him. Every damn time I spend money on Amazon, it's because I pick up that phone that I bought and go to Amazon to willingly give them money.
Well, because we're taught that that's what we're supposed to do, right? That's the system.
No, it's not.
We're making up until now, you know. But when all these corporations were rising and
you
making
couldn't do that shit 20 years ago.
They do what?
You couldn't do that shit 20 years ago.
Do what shit 20 years ago?
Pick up your damn phone, have shit brought to your damn house on demand.
No, because the technology didn't exist.
Thank you very much. So we were not taught to do that shit.
I'm talking about consumerism in general, right? Like I'm talking about like you're basically you're going out and you're purchasing products from companies, expecting the purchase to be done in good faith, right? You know, like this is me taking part in the system. This is capitalism. This is all supposed to be done in good faith. But we'll come to find out the people at the top were actually con men the whole time. You know, so like I said, we acted in good faith to a point. Now we should know better. But we acted in good faith to a point, and we were taken advantage of. And now that they have power, you know, it's a little bit late, but you know, at least it's now time.
I don't catch that. I don't catch that line of thinking there.
What do you mean?
How are we going to from this capitalism is how we do things. You know, a free market. You know, if you want to go sell your fruit that you've grown in your field, and then you can go sell your fruit for however much you want to sell it for. It's your fruit. You get to determine how much you want to sell it for. Now, somebody else, they grow the same fruit. They can come in and think, well, I can sell mine a little bit cheaper. It don't cost me that much to do it. So, and then you put into people that are willing to give you their money for that fruit, you can determine a market value for something. If everybody's buying your fruit, you can raise the price up a little bit. Everybody's still buying your fruit. I can raise the price up a little bit. Now, do we need to? No, but I can. And as long as you're willing to keep giving me money, I can keep raising my price until you decide that's too fucking much, and then I stop.
That's what I'm saying about that. That's why I'm saying that's what I mean by good faith, right?
Okay.
That's how we expect the system to work. But what actually happens is you have your fruit stand, right? And then some other person who can sell the fruit cheaper and still gain a profit does it as well. All right, so they've undercut you, right? Yeah. They're doing better than you. Well, then that person then goes and makes it illegal for you. They pass laws making it illegal for you to sell fruit without certain licenses, right? That they conveniently have.
Okay,
Then
now
they
you're
make
out of
it
capitalism
illegal.
and into corporatism.
You see how quick it becomes that? In one breath. In one breath. And that's what I'm saying. We go out and we think that that capitalism is how it works. But what's really happening is corporatism.
Exactly.
So we go out in good faith spending money. And
well, I don't
what we
think
get
people
in result,
realize that corporations count as people in this country. They have power. You know,
I know, and that's ridiculous, right?
Yes, it
You
is.
know how they got that power? Money that was given to them by people participating in capitalism.
And by one of
In
our
good faith.
false representatives giving that power under vote through Congress by a majority of votes through other false representatives.
Yes, that's what that's what I'm saying. We spent that money in good faith thinking that this is how capitalism worked, when lo and behold it was never really capitalism.
Yeah, that's why I tell people, when, especially folks that are yelling about capitalism, we've had this discussion. I bring it up every time it comes up. Capitalism is not your enemy. Corporatism is. There is a difference. They are hand in hand, and corporatism needs capitalism to survive. So yes, you can say that capitalism is the root of all evil, but if you don't bastardize it, capitalism is what everybody wants.
And I feel like capitalism, it just inherently breeds corporatism.
See, a person should have the right under this capitalistic society to sell your oranges. You sell your oranges, but if I want to, I can go around and I can say, I'm going to go to the farmers themselves, and I'm going to you too. But if you don't want to participate, that's fine. I'm going to every other farmer that's selling fruit, growing fruit, and I'm just going to buy their farms out. Their whole harvest. I just want to buy their harvest. And then I'm going to put down this big giant store at the end of the road, and that's going to sell all the fruit from the region. And since I'm buying it all on good faith that it's going to grow, I'm buying it before it's even planted this season. I'm getting a good deal on it. You can't match that deal. So you got to come up with some other gimmick to sell your stuff. But I'm sitting over here with mine. That's perfectly fair. Somebody has found a better way to do something.
To me, that particularly, that's capitalism. But see, then when you say that all the peaches you own are now your intellectual property, right? And their genetics are now your intellectual property. And if pollen runs across the fields and gets into my orchard, and my peaches now have your genetic code in it, I am now in possession of your property.
Yes.
That happens.
When you give that corporation power over the person that owns the corporation's vote, then we have a problem called corporatism.
Yeah. What I'm saying is it keeps leading back to that.
Yes, that is the one step that you have to cross. That is the only step that you have to cross to completely taint capitalism. And it's so easy to cross because, the person who owns the company wants to be able to have his say. Well, he gets a vote. He's got his say. Done. The fact that he's now being able to use his back pocket to influence policy, bam, now we've got a problem. So we put a law against that. Well, then we allowed lobbyists. Well, that's just fucking bribery with extra steps.
Right. And then you have to have somebody enforce these laws. Right?
Remember those extra steps.
Yeah. You have to have somebody enforce these laws.
So yeah, the system is busted from the top down. It's been corrupted. We allowed it to happen because either naivety or blindness, either one. And we've continued to let it happen out of pure ignorance. Too many people don't understand what the problems are. They don't know the differences between one or the other, so they're blaming one over the other. They're calling one good, one black. It's a completely up situation. Nobody's paying attention to that. Instead, we're paying attention to 0.00225% possibility of something going wrong.
I've long since said that is not even the major problem with policing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that is a problem. It's not as big a problem as made out to be, but that's not even the major. So I agree with you there. It's not even the major problem with policing. You know, I say the whole damn system is corrupt. So fuck the system. And the cops are the ones that the system's riding in on. So fuck the horse they rode in on.
But
too.
even on this, just the efficacy and of police and the public opinion of them, is overwhelmingly positive.
The efficacy is not. They have solved less than 75% of violent crimes in like the last last year, the year before, something like that. I don't have the numbers from it, but I do remember it was like 75 or so percent unsolved violent crime, and 25% solved rate on the wait, hold on a second. Okay, of all crimes, like 75% were left unsolved, and of that 75%, 25% was like non-violent crimes. So they're not really effective when it comes to like solving crimes and shit like that. Now, as far as maintaining a presence, maybe. Like I said, we talk about community policing, and we both feel there's good and bad with that.
Now we've got a difference between beat police and detectives. Regular old cops don't solve crimes. It's the detectives that are supposed to be doing that work.
No, they're not.
Granted, they might have a low case rate, but you being a former criminal yourself, you should know about how easy it actually is to get away with stuff.
I know how easy it used to be. Technology has actually made it much harder.
It has. Technology has made it a lot more difficult, but a lot of people don't have that technology. And even with the DNA testing and shit like that, it's still surprisingly easy not to leave a trace behind. And if you leave no evidence behind, you're not from an area, and you don't know your victim, pretty much impossible to trace you back.
Okay.
So the fact that they have a resolution rate at all is actually more surprising than how much they don't. Those numbers are actually pretty fucking good, even for a detective side.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of it has to do with resource allocation, right?
That is a problem.
There's the resource allocation is a problem there. They could do more crime solving if they were doing less quote unquote crime preventing.
Yeah,
right?
Have more CSI, less fucking COD.
Exactly. Because I mean, like I said, there is a thing of having people, on the lookout, making sure nobody's getting slaughtered in the street, listening for screams of help, shit like that. But going around stopping and frisking people, pulling people over because they might look a little suspicious, according to the cop, shit like that. No, that's just got to end, man. That's got to end. They're not going to have, they can't keep doing that and have resources left over without needing more resources. And how do they get resources? By making arrests. And how do they make arrests? Any fucking way they can.
I'm sure some of that happens. Yeah, because that's going to happen. Money makes the world go round, and if your department is going to get a budget cut, if you don't produce the numbers that you did last year, then you're going to produce the numbers that you did last year. That's going to happen.
Yeah, you're going to find those votes, right?
Is that widespread? Oh God, did we just stack a fucking voter reference unwittingly right on top of each other?
No, I did it right on purpose.
No, you did on purpose, and then I come up with it, but is it widespread right behind it? And I had no idea you were saying
that. I actually think it is pretty widespread, man. I mean, towards like the end of the month, fucking like traffic violations and pullovers increase. I have actually been searched. I shit you not. I have been taken out of my car, and my car has been searched because, and I quote, they have a quota to meet on searches, and they just picked me at random. Now I know it was bullshit, and I knew that if I refused to go along with this illegal search might actually turn into a fucking arrest. So I let them search, and they didn't really find anything. There was weed in the truck, but they weren't really looking for that. They were more or less looking for anything else really. They don't seem to really pressure me with weed. They just take it from me if they find it. But yeah, so I think it's pretty widespread. Them just making things to make it happen. Yeah, I would say it's fair across the board. A lot of cops will even deny, oh, we don't have quotas, but then you get the other cops like, yeah, we totally have quotas. And then you look at how their budgeting goes and you look at all that shit, and it's like, yeah, they totally have quotas. If they don't meet this requirement, their budget cuts go down. Oh, well, crime must be reducing because you made less arrests, so you need less money. And yeah, so they are incentivized to create crime. It's like I still believe that, all the antivirus programs that came out in the mid to late 90s, I believe they were the ones making the viruses. And I feel like in a lot of cases, pretty wide across the board, is the police shit is going on. They're not so much solving crimes as they're out looking to find new ones.
Well, again, traffic stops and stuff like that. Yeah, we've got issues with there. That we both agree. Shouldn't be an issue to even be considering, let alone allocating resources to keep it going. Just because somebody's doing a few miles an hour over the speed limit, no reason to stop them. I get it that if you keep letting people go about it though, then they're going to continue to do it, and they're going to continue to do it. And what happens when if after
their fucking license plate? They could even do like they do with toll roads. If you're going above a certain speed, it just automatically sends you a fucking ticket.
Well, I did happen to see an article that the National Highway Safety Administration has sent a request in for automakers to start putting speed regulation devices on vehicles. So
if the cops can have it too.
It won't be long, and your vehicle will not be able to speed.
Look, I've said, but that's going to piss the cops right the fuck off. Look at all the lost revenue from tickets. You watch and see if they don't fucking do something to stop that.
Well, then we will definitely see a point of indication toward that being an intentional drive.
Just like I don't understand, if we really wanted to stop drunk driving, why every car doesn't have that fucking that interlock thing in it. Sure, it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but unless you have some sort of medical condition, huh?
Collective guilt.
What do you mean collective guilt?
The same reason I have a problem with all kinds of these other stupid ass laws that stop me from being able to do something just because somebody else done something stupid and violated their rights and abused their rights.
Yeah,
don't punish me because somebody else done something stupid.
I agree. I believe I should be able to drink and drive. I don't believe I should be able to drive drunk. I believe I should be able to sit in the passenger seat and drink as much as I want. And if I'm driving, and I stop at the gas station on the way home and crack open a beer, I'm not drunk driving, right? So it seems like there's better ways to solve that problem. They already have
that's one of those laws that you pointed out there that really bugs me is the fact that if somebody drinks a beer in your car and you're driving the car, you get goddamn a DUI. That is absolute stupidity.
Well, it's not. It's an open container, right? But it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. And that rule doesn't seem to apply to fucking limousines. You know why? Who rides in limousines?
Yeah, the people that are making the damn laws.
There you go.
The upper
It's
people
not
looking down on us. Exactly. And then we pick a new batch of them for the next cycle.
So yeah, I'm not saying cops are the problem, right? I'm saying they're a huge part of something that is a problem. They're just they're like the herpes, you know, they're like the cold sore that lets you know you have herpes.
There we go. An unfortunate symptom of a much larger issue.
Right.
And that's my point. That is exactly where I stand with it, my friend, is that yes, we have something we dislike there, but that is not the problem that we need to be focusing on. It is a problem, yes, you know, but it's such a small, little, teeny tiny fucking issue when you look at the bigger picture. It's kind of like, to put a different analogy to it, if you hate guns because guns kill people, you're looking at the problem from at the perspective of the gun. A gun can't do a damn thing. It's always the person behind the gun. And when you're looking at the use of law enforcement isn't the issue. It's the person wielding it, or people who is pointing them in that direction, who's unleashing these dogs. And even if you're calling it at that perspective, and okay, they are the oppressive part of the regime, they're doing a lousy ass job of that. They're being pretty fucking nice about it, honestly. Even if they are, they're being pretty fucking nice about
it. Again, I'm not against policemen. I'm against cops. And I mean, there is a distinction there, at least in my brain.
Well, like I said, even when you look at it in the terms of just events and arrests and how people are treated, the actual use of law enforcement, the people on the ground coming to you and their actions by the rules that society has set, they're doing as they should. Now, should the rules be there? Questionable, but they are there. So they're doing as they should in the limits that society has set on the vast majority of the situations that present themselves.
Yeah.
We don't like the system.
But there's always outliers.
We can't focus on the bottom part of the system if we don't like the system. That's like, if you don't like a Ford, because they got Firestone tires, if that's the only reason, change the fucking tires. But that's not going to change what a Ford is.
I'm more likely to dislike them because they were founded by the father of all Nazis.
I got you, but like I said, with this little analogy, the police officers are the tires. They're the bottom. They're the contact with the ground. We're the ground, right? We're the bottom of the bottom. So just changing the tires on a Ford ain't going to change what a Ford is. We can put the best tires on the bottom of that thing you want to. It's still a fucking Ford. You got to change the Ford, and then we can worry about the tires.
Yeah, but what if the tires are made by Ford and they're also garbage? Right?
That puts it back toward the police or the problem. I don't think so.
If they're using the Firestone analogy, if these Ford tires on this Ford machine are exploding and causing people to die, even if it's only 60 people that die unarmed or whatever, or even if it's 1,000 people and some of them are driving recklessly, where the majority of them are driving recklessly when these Ford tires exploded. At some point in time, the tires are part of the problem. Yeah, you need to get rid of the whole goddamn thing, but the tires are a problem too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but the problem is the ball joints go out and blow the damn tires any fucking way. So it didn't matter when you changing the damn tires.
Yeah, or you're like something else Ford did, and the fucking gas tank is in the rear bumper.
Like I said, until you change the freaking problem, it doesn't matter with nothing else. And we've already changed the tires on this particular ride because of, the Firestones were blowing up. Yeah, to keep the analogy going. We've already changed the tires. We've evolved our police force to a much better system than it was just 30 years ago. And again, like I said,
We've also militarized the shit out of it during that time.
because
Due to the drug war, but we've militarized the shit out of it in that time. Like I feel like there have been steps forward, but those steps forward have come after many, 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 many steps back. Right? Like they need to take leaps forward.
well, I know
Maybe not quite the way not quite the way China did the Great Leap Forward under Mao, but the end result might be the same.
before terror and homeland riots and injustice became the big picture, when the war on drugs was the big picture, they used to show pictures and videos of all these police busts where the cops were had went in to this little organized little cell. It wasn't little tiny guys. These guys have more weaponry than some small countries' armies. So that used to be on the news every week, kind of like the shootings are now. So it made it think that it was a big problem. You realize the fact that after a month or two, they'd already run out of people to put on the news. So it wasn't really that big of a problem.
It really wasn't, and the drug war created that problem, right? Had the drugs been sold over the counter legally, you wouldn't have had this shit.
You wouldn't have had that particular person being that particular type of criminal guaranteed there. But would that person still have been a criminal, or would they have, I can't be that criminal, so I'm going to go get a job?
Do we have Al Capone without prohibition?
That's a great question. That's the kind of example I was trying to make out there. Is it all causation and causality, or would he have still been a violent mobster and done what he done, all the little shit that he did, even if we hadn't had prohibition? Maybe he just found another avenue. Maybe he'd have been the founder of Las Vegas.
Maybe. Or maybe he would have been, Anheuser-Busch. We all know. His criminality was funded through the prohibition, right? Had there not been a black market, he wouldn't have got the money to do the things he did. Now, would he have done other things? Maybe. Surely he could have been like a bank robber or something like that, right? But you don't have, with bank robbers, you don't have the system of organized crime that comes with prohibition era gangsters or modern day drug dealers and cartels. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I didn't like the idea of the movement to demilitarize the police being called defund the police. I think that misnomer really killed that movement. Because I'm all for demilitarizing the police. Basic cops shouldn't have a fucking AR-15 in the trunk. Handgun and maybe a shotgun is all they should possibly have. That's all they need. If the situation gets worse than that, you bring SWAT in. We got SWAT for a fucking reason. And SWAT needs to be militarized. Because
militarize the shit out of SWAT, but they're only used for special situations.
Exactly.
They're the ones that go in there when they think the goddamn door's locked at Uvalde, right?
Yeah, when 10 cops with a handgun can't solve the situation, you call SWAT.
Yep, and that's that. And hell, even remove the handgun. If you can't handle it with non-lethal force, get fucking SWAT in there, because it's becoming a serious situation, of course.
I could live with that restructure, but like I said, that's going to add more bodies to the body count. It might not change the numbers of people killed by police, but it will add the number of police officers killed to that list.
I think it would decrease the number of people killed by police. As far as it increasing the numbers of people, these cops would have been shot anyway, right?
Maybe they were fast enough on the draw to shoot the guy that pointed the weapon at them.
Well,
we don't know.
What's the difference between hitting them with a fucking, non-lethal round?
The second it takes for that to work, I guess. I don't know. Does a taser work on everybody?
Most. Most.
Is it as
It's
effective
kind of
as a
hard to
bullet?
resist it. In what sense?
Will it stop somebody from the action they're actually doing at the moment of impact?
Just like a bullet 9 times out of 10.
Because that's the reason why they went to bigger bullets.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, it'll stop them. You can hit them again if it don't.
I do
Like a
know
bullet.
that on a vast majority of folks that that takes them down. But I've seen a couple videos of people taking that shit like a champ, just looking at you like laughing at you, man.
Like there's going to be a few exceptions, right? And you can hit them again. Hell, you fucking go in there with the goddamn the mace. You got fucking the ketamine. You go in there with something, right? But you have all these chances, and it doesn't change anything. You're still possibly, you could shoot the same person that the taser didn't take down. You could shoot them and it not take them down, right? You could aim center mass, and I mean, lo and behold, the motherfucker's got bulletproof armor on. It would have done no good, right?
Well, to me,
So
a cop yelling at me with a gun, telling me something to do, you would think the fact that a cop's got a gun yelling at you to do something is going to make you do it. Regardless of taser, gun, whatever, it doesn't matter what they actually have. They have something that can hurt me. They're going to tell me to do something because they're trying to control a situation. I should probably listen.
They even have these things called taser rounds. So they could chamber the first few rounds of their guns could be chambered with tasers. Then they could go to increasingly lethal rounds. There are options, right? But they don't take them.
But what I'm saying is here on this little tiny point is that the vast majority of the situations that require the police to use a weapon would a less than lethal round change the situation much. Maybe it would have saved the person's life. Maybe. So there's a chance on that. It's definitely not zero.
A better chance than a bullet. A better chance of surviving getting hit with a taser in the chest than a bullet hitting you in the chest.
But the question this officer has the option of both. And the fact that he's told you to stop did not work.
Okay.
Just think about that for a second. This officer, this hypothetical officer, is trying to stop you from doing something that he deems a threat to somebody or himself. Either way, he tells you to stop. Now, this officer has the possibility of both causing you great pain and ending your fucking life. Why do you not fucking listen?
Oh, I agree. And maybe you're you're in a mental health crisis and you're incapable of listening, really.
Okay, well, there are a few instances. Those are outlying. Most of the cases here are not that.
I would say generally, if somebody is pointing a gun at you or a taser and they're a cop and they're telling you to stop what you are doing and you don't realize that you don't have the upper hand, mental health somewhere along the line is probably in play. There has been a problem somewhere along the line. And like I said, you get these people out there that are just going to be violent.
Well, everybody's on the spectrum if you get that technical with it, brother. And so everything is a mental case if it doesn't fit somebody's idea of a norm.
I mean, it's like now, and the thing is, what is the difference of hitting somebody with a taser and bringing them down, or hitting somebody with a bullet and bringing them down? If the result is the same, except in one case, there's a chance that both people walk away, where in the second case, neither or one of them might survive.
Like I said, this train of thought is not going down my own personal beliefs, but I was just wanting to exercise the thought is that if a cop has the ability to hurt you or kill you, and you still decide to misbehave when you're instructed, I mean, whether you're doing something right, wrong, or indifferent, it doesn't fucking matter at this point. Somebody's there that has an authority, and he has a reason to question you that he believes in his mind, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, and you're not going to listen. We accept police officers as authority. When a cop tells you to do something, whether you think you're doing something legal or not, you stop and have the conversation. You don't continue on what the fuck you're doing because he has the ability to hurt you or kill you. Not necessarily the authority that he has behind that badge, but the motherfucker literally has the ability to end your life. Okay?
And I'm saying that they need to decrease their ability to end people's lives.
Everybody has that particular ability, technically.
But not everybody is
But
a
not
cop.
everybody has the authority to exercise that in any capability. These people do by our own will. We are governed, and this is an side effect of allowing to be governed. So we volunteer to have police about us as a whole, as society, not as an individual. So when that particular entity questions your behavior, there's probably a reason to question said behavior. So it's time to stop and explain yourself, and then have that discussion, and you may or may not go to jail afterwards, depending on the conversation. But the fact that the cop that has the ability to end your life can't stop you from doing what you're doing because he says so. What the fuck is the reason? What is the reason to care, to have this much concern about what they use to stop them from doing what they are doing? Because if a cop pulls out a gun, usually there is a danger to the public, not just to himself or to that person.
What does it matter then if the round is lethal or not, right? What is the harm in keeping as much as we can like human life sacrosanct, right?
So if a guy's in a shopping mall shooting or waving around a weapon, holding people hostage there, you want to shoot him with a taser or a tranquilizer.
If it's possible to bring him down without killing him, then maybe we could actually study some of these motherfuckers better. We might be able to understand more about what's going on.
You know how long it takes to squeeze off rounds in an AK or an AR or hell, any semi-automatic rifle.
I mean, a trigger pull is a trigger pull, man. What does it matter at that point? There are non-lethal rounds that they can fire out of basically any weapon.
What I'm trying to get at here is that the time that it takes to subdue a person with less than lethal rounds is not zero. It's not going to happen as fast as a bullet, and it's not going to be as effective.
You can't treat your guy who might be on the corner smoking weed like a school shooter either.
True.
You can't treat every traffic stop like it's goddamn Eric Harris behind the fucking, or Timothy McVeigh behind the fucking steering wheel.
I don't think that they do. I haven't seen an instance too often that they do.
Every time they approach the car with their fucking clasp undone and their hand on the butt of their gun.
Yeah, how many drug dealers you know, and how many of them are armed?
Actually, the only one I'm currently in contact with, I'm not sure that he is. But yes, I've known many drug dealers that were armed. Absolutely. And that is to protect themselves from, people robbing them, not from arrest. Now, there are occasions where some dumbass might shoot at the police. Sure. Shoot back at them. You are defending yourself, correct?
Yes.
But if somebody's not complying with an order and, lives aren't really at stake, they're just walking away because you said, hey, come here a second. And they say, no, fuck you, and walk away. And they're not a threat. Maybe shooting them in the fucking back as they walk away with their hands empty isn't the thing to do.
Okay, now you're talking about the cops getting out in their situation with their holster unsnapped, right? Now, there are certain neighborhoods that I go to that when I get out of the vehicle, I make sure that my holster strap is undone so that I can get to my weapon one step faster if I need to.
Are you initiating contact with people? Are you putting yourself in dangerous positions on purpose? Well, I
am willingly going into these particular neighborhoods, yes.
Well, see, I go into these same neighborhoods. Now I'm not saying that there's something wrong with you for being armed. I'm not saying that, right? But I go into these same neighborhoods and I survive. I haven't had any problems, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I'm not that concerned about the possibility of an encounter. It's not
Right,
that.
right. But we're talking about you're comparing it with the police officer approaching my car because he feels uncertain.
Yeah, it's just that I have that available to me. It's not that I've felt that I need it. It's that I have it, and that I do have it available as a tool. I want that tool to be accessible if that need arises.
Now,
That's the mindset that I have.
If you're walking towards somebody and they observe you unclip your weapon, how do you think that person feels? Do you think they feel safer?
I'm not exactly sure.
Come on, think
I know
about
that
it.
nobody has had a conversation with me so far about my weapon that has been in any way uncomfortable. I've had one person jokingly tell me, "I'm so scared of guns." I mean, but I knew that was in jest.
But you're not approaching. You're not like looking at these people, approaching them, visibly unclasping your weapon, you know, and
I
holding
can't
your
say that
hand
for
over
sure.
the holster.
Well, holding my hand over it, no, I make sure not to do that. I rest my arm on it.
Right, right. Cops approach you. They are approaching you in an offensive posture.
Well, even though I have been chased and hunted as a delivery driver before, and I have had, weapons, pulled on me before, I still don't feel that I would have had the same danger level that a cop goes into in completely unknown situations on a day in, day out basis. And they are subject to the same problems that we are of yeah, I can't say that word for some reason.
Sensationalizing.
Yeah, that one. A specific thing. There was a huge thing going on a while back about cops getting shot down and, violence against police officers going on the rise.
It's really not that big a deal.
Neither are people being shot by cops. It's about the same damn statistic. I mean, the numbers are a little higher, but when you're talking about people
the numbers are a little higher on the other side.
Yes,
Like,
but not when you're going to the people that are unarmed, non-violent. When you pull out the cherry-picked, tragedies that we keep popping out, saying this is the problem. Yes, they are problems, but it's not the problem. When you pull out those, if you put all of those together, it probably tips the scales just barely into that favor, but probably a lot closer to even Stevens.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they have this mentality that they're always at war, and it shows. And that puts me on edge. You know what I mean? It makes me feel threatened when they're coming at me. And so then I get anxiety, I'm nervous, and then all of a sudden the cop sees that I'm nervous, hears it in my voice or whatever, and they're like, "Well, why are you so nervous? What's going on? Please step out of the car." And now I'm super nervous, and their hand is getting ever twitchy by that fucking gun. So
And
you see how that escalates.
I can see how that escalates, and it's an unfortunate incident that you and some other people have been conditioned to react in that way. I see that exact same thing, but I kind of see from their perspective of why they would do it, and I try not to let that bother me. I maintain my calm now instead of getting belligerent like I used to. And every encounter that I've had in the last 20 years with police officers has been damn surprisingly pleasant. And I have to say it's because I grew out of my emotionally immature, what I call the redneck fucking mentality of fuck everybody else, it's me, 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 and started actually looking at it like maybe I need to, be a better person, because even I'm starting to look at myself and think, yeah, I need to change. It took me way too long to realize that. And since I did that and it started to behave a little bit better, and again, not trying to say that I'm act like the elites and you'll be all right. No, act a little bit less like you don't give a fuck. That's all I'm saying. That is all. That is all I'm saying. Act a little less like you don't give a fuck, and you will be surprised at how differently you are treated when you have that issue come to you.
Well, like I said, there is something to be said for like when you are forced into a interaction with them, time rape as I'd call it. You're forced into an interaction with them. It is better to be yes a massa with them. And you come along farther with the yes sirs and the no sirs, and cooperating to an extent, like letting him do that illegal ass search of my car because I knew he was going to search it anyway, right? And
Yeah.
I was trying to but it shouldn't be on me, the guy riding around minding my own business, to de-escalate situations that I didn't want, that I did nothing to deserve.
Well, there again lies in the problems that the laws that these guys are told that they have to enforce or go find another job. And when you're trying to do, if you are one of the ones that are trying to do better,
McDonald's is hiring every day, bro.
Then they're the ones that are taking your weed and saying, yeah, I'm making sure this guy doesn't have any. Instead of, yeah, well, that does qualify as a legal limit. I can take you in and, put the cuffs on you, boy.
I kind of say this with a bit of conjecture. I'm walking into the speculation zone here a little bit, but I guarantee you those outcomes would have been vastly different had I been black or Mexican or a person of color in general. Had I not been, when they actually got to the truck and saw that I was just a good old boy, I think that would have gone. I would have maybe been arrested with that.
Maybe, but I was in Wake Forest, dressed in black, with long hair.
Yeah,
that was it.
What else is in? What's in Wake Forest, Mike?
I had one little seed and maybe 2 or 3 flakes of what used to be weed in the bag.
Right. Yeah. And because
I had a pocket knife in my pocket.
Because you were profiled unfairly, which gives them probable cause to search you for some reason, when you weren't causing a problem, but because you looked different, because you weren't the element that they want seen in town, right? It's a Southeastern Baptist Seminary's home. You're not supposed to have a bunch of goth long hair hippies walking around with drugs on them. So you you harass them. You lock them up. You fuck their life up. Because what are they to you? They're just fucking trash, right?
I was dressed completely different from everybody else. I was doing my own. I don't give a fuck about civilization or what anybody else thinks about me. Now, it wasn't just the fact that I was wearing black. Now, I was wearing black with chains, and I was doing the goth thing before goth became cool, right?
Yeah. You were. How many people were you harming?
Absolutely no one. But I wasn't fitting the norm, and it wasn't that I was glitzy with this shit. I was wearing a raggedy ass trench coat. I was wearing holy black jeans. My boots were scuffed as shit. They were all used secondhand stuff. You could tell it wasn't new shit. And I wasn't wearing new stuff, so I didn't fit the norm of the upper middle class. I was poor folk from the beginning through and through, and still am now. So. It was my behavior out of the norm of what is acceptable behavior through societal lenses that got the attention of me. And I almost would be willing to bet my left testicle, almost, that the same thing is happening with the instances that people are putting a racial lens on, that it would have been different if you were black. I don't think so. I think it would have been exact same if you were from the same class. I think if you were black and you were wearing a fucking turtleneck sweater and some fucking khaki pants, driving around in a BMW with a fucking pound of weed in your car, you get off with it.
Maybe.
Flash your daggone little college ring or what the hell ever, your comma sum laude.
Certainly more likely to. Certain, I will definitely give you that. It doesn't hurt your chances.
Drive around in the 80s Oldsmobile with the fucking music going down, smoke coming out the window, fucking, shit tied in your hair. Yeah, you're not a normal black person. You're one of the hoodlums. That's the mentality.
Just a person.
You're one of the poor folks because you can't afford to be like the person over there that's got the turtleneck sweater and the daggone khaki pants. Even though you got $400 sneakers on now, you are still considered a poor folk because of the way you're behaving. It's behaving.
That doesn't mean it's cool to criminalize them.
I didn't say it was. What I'm saying is it's not race. It's society. It's a social classation kind of thing, maybe even monetarily, but it's not racially driven anymore. There are racist people. There are racist people using their power to do racist bullshit. I'm not saying that don't happen.
Regardless of what's driving it, it shouldn't be happening.
Exactly.
That's my point.
But we will never fix the problem if we're looking in the wrong direction. That's my problem with calling racism on everything that's going around here is you keep calling racism on shit that's blatantly not, and we're never going to get to the root cause. When racism rears its ugly head, I am right beside people every day of the week trying to fight it. I'm good for you. Need a minute over there, bro?
That was a good hit of took a nice big hit of a joint saying fuck it to the man.
Yeah, I hear you, man. That's why I use push to talk, so when the dad kicks my ass, you don't hear
it. Yeah, but that just gets confusing for me. My brain don't let me keep up with that. It's like why I don't drive stick, man. There's just too much going on.
Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, when racism raises its ugly head, I'm all for the fight. It needs to be stomped out. I don't like racism. Matter of fact, that's why I don't work at a particular place that I used to, because I couldn't stand the racist people that I was working with anymore. I couldn't deal with it.
Right. Racism should be exposed anywhere you find it. Right. It should be exposed and rooted out and done away with. And I think focusing on racism when it comes to the issue of the criminal justice system, and granted, it's easy for me to say this, a white guy, but focusing
I was getting ready to say,
racism,
bro, I'm still fighting being a racist my damn self. That's a constant fight. It's so fucking easy to generalize, and it's
right. And so, where was I going with that?
It was definitely something about the racist being the issue, and
no. Okay, I got you. You focusing on race on the racism issue is it's drawing away attention from the whole thing. While it is an issue, it is not the only issue, right? And if you're not focusing on the whole picture, including the racism, like it's not just like, well, yeah, there is some racism, but that's not that's not really the problem. No, it's just one of the problems. It's not the only problem. And treating it like it is the only problem, I agree with you, is a problem. It is just one of many problems.
Well, it's like, cops shooting black folks, cops are racist, equal causality kind of problem there. I don't buy it. I think there's a bigger issue as to why black folks are more apt to be killed by police than white folks.
Are you saying that racist white cops have not killed black people due to racism ever?
Absolutely not. But I'm willing to bet there's some black cops that have killed white folks for racist reasons as well.
Sure. So racism in policing on any level is a problem. If it only happens once a week,
racism is a problem anywhere if it affects anybody else at all, period.
Absolutely.
You can be racist all the hell you want. I'm not saying you don't have the right to be racist. You have the right to be the biggest bigot you fucking want to in this country, as long as that you don't use that right to hurt nobody else and bother their freedom to be whatever they want to be.
Right. And like I said, racism isn't the whole problem. It is just one of the problems, right? It's just, you have to deal with it. We have to deal with racism. You know what else we have to deal with? The fucking criminal justice system. We have to deal with corporations. There's a lot of problems, and yeah, racism is, I believe it is one of them. I'm not saying that every cop that kills somebody is racist. No, I'm not even saying that every white cop that kills a black guy or every black guy that kills a white guy is racist. I'm not saying that either. I'm saying that it does happen. It does fucking happen. And not only killings, but arrests and convictions based on race alone. That shit happens. And
yeah, it does.
To say it's not a problem is problematic, and to say it's the only problem is equally as problematic.
Well, you can't say it's not a problem because it obviously is. It's verifiably true, and demonstrably everywhere you look. But unfortunately, it's always going to be a problem until we decide that we're all one race, and then we can't be racist. And till that happens, racism is going to be an issue we are going to constantly have to address, because unfortunately, it happens, and those people have children, they procreate because they have the right to. And
look how far we've come in 2 generations. Have we come far?
We have
enough?
made huge progress.
Exactly. We've made huge progress, man.
Not one single person on this planet can point to a point in the past where their life would have been demonstrably or verifiably better than it is now. Subjectively, yes. Subjectively, on a point or two here, yes. But on a whole, as a societal picture, there's no point in past that's better than it is now, unless maybe a small percentage of white men.
I might have done fairly good in like 1968. I might have done fairly good. I might have. That
people of color can say that even less. There's no point in history on the place of this earth that it is better for you then than it is now if you're a person of color. Are we there yet? No. We got a long way to go before we make humanity a single race and, give us a good direction to go from there. Long way to go. Have we made great strides? Yes.
We have. We definitely have. But like I said, is it enough? Absolutely not. Do I know what the answers are? Absolutely. I don't know how to fix it, but I do know that even just acknowledging this is a problem and then trying to do things in your life to not continue that problem, that's not just, I'm not talking about with police on this, I'm talking in general. If you recognize that, okay, racism is a problem, and you just make sure you're not doing racist things, that you're not contributing to racism in any way that you can help.
And simply point out to somebody when they do something that is blatantly racist, that's racist, right? That's really all you got to do.
Yeah. Like, I think I should be able to just have a sign, hey, yo, that's racist.
Yeah, and if it's a problem, they will discuss it further. If they's like, oh, that's racist, and they change their problem solved. The problem comes in when they try to justify what they're doing, and then we need an education.
Like a little yellow flag and a rape whistle. Hey, I think something was racist. Maybe.
That's
identify it.
Yeah, point out if you see it, call it out, man. Don't fight about it, because that's not going to help. That's just going to make them more racist.
I don't know. I mean, I did enjoy seeing that guy smash dude in the face with a twisted T for calling somebody the N-word at a gas station. I did kind of enjoy seeing that little punk get knocked the fuck out by a twisted T.
Well, that I would say goes beyond racism.
That's just stupidity, right? That's
verbal assault.
Yeah, fair.
And it's a disgusting verbal assault to begin with. Honestly, if I call you that word, I've either already beat your ass or I'm ready to get my ass beat. I don't care what color you are if I use it. I'm using it at its most derogatory term if I'm using it. Or I'm using it with the little inflection as a friendly thing, and I'm using it in choice company when I do that. But trust me, folks, if I call you that word, I've either already beat you to the ground and I'm insulting you, or I'm insulting you so one of us is going to get beat to the ground. That's the cause. So if somebody gets punched in the face for using it, I'm all for it, because what else was it used for?
I think the biggest, for me personally, the biggest insult that I will call somebody, if I call somebody swine, that means they're the lowest fucking thing on the face of this planet. They're fucking garbage. They're disgusting. They're filth. I can think of, to me, to be called swine is like the worst thing you could be called. Not a pig, swine. You know, you're just you're lower than human. You're fucking bottom feeding filth. No one can call that racist. That doesn't come from a racial place of hatred. That just comes from I'm not being racist. I am just fucking being contemptuous of your existence. Your humanity is in question, much less your race.
No meaning behind it other than to piss somebody off. I don't know what the connotation actually is. I just know that that's a hell of a trigger word, and if I want to fight somebody, pull that word out of my back pocket, and there's a fight.
That will work. I guarantee you, like a 90% success rate. Hell, if you come to Durham, I bet you 100% success rate.
Oh, what do you think I had to leave Durham?
Good God, Mike.
I lived in Durham when I came out of prison. Remember that.
Oh, this is been the last episode of.
Well, you know as well as I do, for a white boy, a real quick way to be racist is to go to prison. That's going to make you racist for a little while. When I came out of
prison, I had a little bit of reactionary racism.
Yes, you're going to be a surface racist. You're going to be sensitive to it. On
reflection, it was actually kind of a trauma response to PTSD.
Yes, but nobody will ever diagnose me of that. Somebody volunteering to go fight in a war, seeing somebody get blown up, that's PTSD. Me being thrown in as a child and having to fight for food and being beaten by soap in a sock while people were holding fucking sheets over me where I couldn't move, threatening. That kind of shit, that's not PTSD. That's just, poor you.
Yeah. Now, me, I actually kind of lucked out, I guess. Or maybe it's just my personality. I didn't really have any problems. But I was still here. I was still affected by the rhetoric. I was still affected by the general feeling of you stick with your own, and
you went to the adult thing first, bro.
Yeah. I know, and I know it's even worse in it's horrible because I always hear horror stories of Polk. And I was 1 year too old to go to Polk Youth Correctional when they got me.
Yeah, when I went to the adult camps, I was expecting the same shit. And from my perspective, the adult camps was like fucking Motel 6.
Yeah, they call Polk Correctional Gladiator School.
Yes.
Yeah, so believe me, I know exactly what you mean.
I spent more than one night fucking sleeping up in the pipes in the ceiling.
Now, when I was in county jail for 13 months, the county was about a third of the population was on their way to like Polk Youth Correctional. So yeah, I know the people you're talking about, and that's part of where it came from, man. It was a reactionary racism based on basically a trauma response, based on the environment I was in. And when I came out of prison, I actually had to work hard.
You drop it out of your audio. Get close to your mic.
Oh, sorry. When I got out of prison, I had to work hard to come out of that, man. Like I really had to. I had to fight with it.
Yes. So when I say I lived in Durham when I got out of my juvenile tour, you can understand why I had to leave.
Yeah, I get it, man. And and like I said, and that's something about racism that I don't think gets talked about a lot, is that it has a lot to do with just the environment. I mean, I was raised by my entire family was racist, right? I was raised in a racist society, a racist part of town. The Klan ran the fucking police. Like I was raised by it. So, it was very easy for me to go to that mindset in prison. And I think as long as children are being brought up, the way that I was brought up, and as long as that shit remains the norm, and as long as those people are the ones making decisions, man, that things are going to continue to be racist. Like racists a lot of them don't even really think of themselves as racist. Well, I'm not racist, but, there's always a but. And the sentence should just end with, I'm not racist. you know.
It should, and unfortunately, I could not say that at that particular time, and it's a product of my conditioning. I was not when I went in. I was when I come out, and it took a long
Same.
time for me to come get through that. I still fight with it, but it's not for the same reason.
It
My
didn't take me as
racism
long
now
'cause
isn't
all my friends were
for
still black.
well, my racism now isn't toward like one particular culture. It's more like a classification issue, the logical fallacy of the out of one many kind of a thing. I see it's a stereotyping issue more than it is a race, but it happens to be built along a racial network structure. Like Chinese people always be like, black people always be like, white folks always be like, that kind of stuff. It's that level of racism that I still fight with on a personal level every single fucking day.
Yeah, the stereotypical type shit, right?
Yes, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
even
me
though
too.
that has a racial connotation to it, it is more a logical fallacy of generalization than it is racism. But the fact that it has a racial direction to it, out of just because A equals B in those observed situations, racism. It just that's why I don't like calling racism for stuff like this, like the police interactions and stuff like that. That's way deeper than just one layer of data can show. Yes, there's a discrepancy there, but I don't think
I
that
agree with
discrepancy
you that
points towards racism as the issue.
I do think that I agree with you that it is drawn more along the poverty line, the class issue, than the racial lines. That and before prison, that's how I felt too.
Yeah. So if we can redirect the energy that come out from this, I mean, yes, it's like I said, it's a tragedy, but all that energy came out over what is a perception, and it's a false one, but it's a perception because of the way the news cycle runs and all that good stuff. So, and I don't fault nobody for it, and I'm not calling it wrong. And some good did come from it, even though I would be wondering how many people got hurt in the process of it, and then we'd have to weigh those scales. But just calling out one particular problem just because you look at one particular piece of data is never going to get us to the right answer. And so we've got to look beyond that ourselves. We call it out where we see it, but don't cry wolf on it. And I really think we're at a danger point where that's going to become where we see racism being presented as or perceived as is somebody just crying wolf instead of actually pointing out a real problem, because we keep pointing at racism as a problem, even when it's not.
We keep focusing on it, and to me, racism is the non-thing. I mean, yeah, it's a thing, but it's just one problem of many, and it's not even the biggest problem. And like I said, I do believe a lot of it is class, and it just so happens that due to past racism, a lot of there's a racial disparity that falls along the poverty line somewhat. That doesn't mean that everybody is a racist. That doesn't mean that the cops themselves are racists. That's just saying that the racism got us here.
It's not just racism getting us there. It's humanity doing what humans do. We're tribalistic by nature. You know that. At least I think you do. I mean, from the conversation we've had, it's a fairly safe assumption, I would think.
Yeah, but it's the xenophobia, the racism that's different than kind of being clannish.
Well, that xenophobia does have its roots in nature, and so it's something that we humans have to fight.
So does rape.
Right. Exactly. We are still in a process of evolving our humanity from our animal background. We are animals. We are still animals. We are still apes.
Yeah. This is just another form of evolution, man. It's a social evolution.
Yeah, but yes, but this one is one that's really tricky to shake, because we also like to isolate ourselves. We like to network ourselves, and networks can only be so large before you start losing the coherency of them, and then there's no meaning. It's hard to look past a nation size, and apparently an empire is about as big as you're going to get. Using history as a data point, there's only so big an empire can get before it falls apart. Its influence can't go that far. At least
I'd say we're actually approaching a point where it can, through technology and networking and what have you.
Maybe, but
I'm saying we're close to a point where we can have a one world.
It's not like humanity hasn't been trying. There's been civilizations rise and fall, trying to unite the world under one rule or one set of ideals, or one set of morals, one whatever. And that's what it's going to take to completely get rid of the whole underlying tone of racial tension at all.
The whole world needs to agree to a social contract.
And by get rid of the race, I mean become one. Get rid of the racists.
Not get rid of it. Not get rid of a race
them. Not by eradication, but by absorption. Become one race, and that is the only way we're ever going to escape that particular problem.
Well, then then what happens when you have the pointy nipples and then the ripple nipples? The innies and the outies.
There you go. We are our own slippery slope fallacy. We are always going to be going to whatever is fucking next nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing, though, right? You solve one problem and you move on to another one. That's what life is, isn't it? I always thought so. I mean, that's what it's like being poor.
That would mean you have to consistently create problems for you to solve.
No, the world does it constantly on its own.
Hope we do every single one of the problems other than living and dying. We've created every other problem ourselves.
No, I just want to sit at home and play the forest and be left alone by the outside world. But then again, I keep hearing about thousands of children dying in Gaza and shit like this, so it keeps me involved.
Well, maybe we might have to evolve this into Twitch streaming video games while we have these conversations, and people might actually want to stick around and listen to it in the background while they're going about their lives, and maybe somebody actually might give a shit to support it.
We have about 20 I would say diehard regular listeners that listen to every episode, sometimes more than once. We have about 20 fans from what the insights on the web pages are showing me. Most of them are on Spotify, on podcast players. We got about 20 good hard fans.
Well, I appreciate every single one of them.
Oh yeah, we got 2 patrons. We'd love more patrons, but clearly we're not doing it for the patrons.
You know what I'm saying? You wanted to play video games. I love playing video games. I wouldn't mind sitting here staying myself out of society's problems because there are days I will not go outside because I know I will not fit in with society that particular day, and I might have an encounter with the police that I don't want to have. So I stay the fuck at home, which means it's really hard to hold a job.
Honestly, dude, that's kind of what goes on with me too. And it's not just police; it's people. Like I go, I have to do if I have to go to like Walmart and shit, I gotta get that shit done kind of early on. Before the crowds there. Well, most people are on their way to work and shit like that. I got to do that shit early on, man. Because if I go into a crowded area, it's getting harder and harder for me to be able to handle it. Just this past weekend, me, Jessica, and Storm went to the reptile show up in Raleigh. Now, 7-8 years ago, I was able to handle those reptile shows. But after about 30 minutes, I had to leave. I couldn't go back in. It was just too much for me, man. So, and it's getting like that, pretty much everywhere I go. And that makes it really hard for me to hold down a job. It actually makes it hard for me to stay consistent door dashing.
Yes, it does.
The best time for me to make money is the time that I am most at risk of having some sort of like meltdown, and panic attacks and shit. So,
which reminds me, I read a story a little bit ago about the possibility. There's studies going into it. There's the possibility of going that folks on the far end of the spectrum, still functional, but these folks that they're actually the ones that are what we should call normal, and we're everybody else that is participating in the system are the ones that are actually not paying attention to the world around them. And that's the reason they can't fit in is they're paying attention. They're more open to what's actually true, and they cannot bring themselves down to the level to function in the society that we've created.
Yeah, that's kind of what goes on with me, man.
Now,
And
I have
I
been
dealt with
called all kinds of names because I had that mentality that,
Yeah.
I am right and you're all wrong. And
Arrogant.
yes.
I get called arrogant a lot. And I'm like, but
narcissistic.
how do yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm not. But don't you see that's how this is? That's what's happening. And yeah,
I'm gonna have to
and
find it again so I can send it to you if I'm lucky enough to be able to Google it
yeah,
again.
because
That was just
I
funny.
can
It made me think about that.
yeah, my whole life I've been able to pretend, I was able to handle it. But the older I get, it's like it becomes harder and harder for me to be able to think through these
Yeah, I
things
can't fake it.
to do it.
Right. So
Yeah,
which brings
it's
into
getting
the
harder
case that we
now.
definitely need a better mental health system because maybe I am fucked up or maybe everybody else is fucked up. I don't care which way that is. One of us needs some goddamn help.
Yeah, man. I'm actually, like I said, they're going to be doing running tests on me for autism, and that honestly might be what's been wrong with me this whole time. I've been trying to, and I just can't actually.
Well, back to that, and I think we'd get a bigger audience because, man, when I was streaming video games, just bullshitting around, not really having much to say, just, I would have probably 15 or 20 people watching. And of course, there's more click throughs coming in and out there. But the rewatches afterwards were in the hundreds. And that's just my little ass doing absolutely nothing. I was a nobody. Yeah. And so we definitely hit a larger audience doing that. I can't get access to our old thing to where we did because I can't remember the passwords. I'd like to look at those numbers again
Yeah.
on the Twitch, but they changed it to where
See
they
where it
don't
went.
hold them forever anymore, so they're gone now.
Yeah. We could, man. Like, we could do a thing where you teach me how to survive in DayZ. I can teach you how to survive in the forest. Like, hell, man, it could be a thing.
Yeah, because so many of these people that are playing video games and talking about crap, are just talking about nonsense crap. Not calling them
And we
people
actually can have
nonsense, but
topics.
they actually do ban these topics that people should be talking about more, and they have the attention of thousands of people that maybe should be thinking a little bit more about the world around them as well at the same time as this video game they're watching.
Yeah. A streamer that I actually follow, who basically does a lot of the legwork for me, keeping up with the evangelicals and the Christian nationalists, is Owen Morgan. He runs like the Telltale Atheist channel, and he'll sit there and he'll play a video and he'll comment on the video of like Mike Lindell or Ron DeSantis or fucking John Hagee or something, and he'll critique it and he'll talk about it and he'll do like little research and put up data on it. But the whole time he's sitting there like playing Zelda Breath of the Wild or some such shit, So he's got that up too. So he's sitting there playing the video game while he's sitting there talking about this bullshit ass thing he's got going on. So yeah, I mean, and I sometimes I don't really care about the game he's playing. It's irrelevant to me, and I don't really watch it, unless I'm watching the video in the corner screen of the person who's talking. But the video game is just background. But for some people, they really enjoy that shit. Like Jessica watches a lot of streamers. Me, I can't really get into it. Like I've watched a few like playthrough videos for games I wanted to know the story to, but never could like play, like GTA 5. I could never really get far in GTA 5. But I was interested in the story because I like gangster shit.
It's another one I have and I've yet to play.
Yeah, so I watched the playthrough video. Has all the cutscenes and all this shit you got to do, and there's no extra shit. They're just doing the storyline. But that's what I wanted anyway.
And see, I've watched people while I'm at work, basically in the background off the thing, just listening to them talk, listening to what their action, and when like it's DayZ streamers is usually the ones that I'm watching, and as soon as I hear him say some keywords like "oh shit, player," or I hear a gunshot, I'm always like, all right, what's happening? I start focusing in on something like that, but I'm always listening to the conversation. Which, hey folks, if you're listening to this one later, welcome to another rabbit hole. Yeah, this ain't nowhere near the topic we brought you into, but yeah, maybe this could get more people into topics like this and interested into stuff like this, so we can possibly maybe focus some folks towards actual problems.
Yeah, man. At least give something. Like, we don't often have solutions to the problems we talk about, but I think we bring a lot of things to the table that needs to be discussed, that should be discussed. Like, if nobody's talking about it, nothing's ever going to happen. And it all starts at the dinner table, and it starts around the couches and where people are in the car rides, you got to think about this shit. You got to talk about shit. And
do
even
I have
sometimes
solutions? No. Do we have solutions? No. But do we have the critical thinking ability to look at a problem and discuss potentials? Absolutely. Do we have the ability to weigh risks using available data? Absolutely. So do we have a solution? No. Can we come up with one? Probably. Are we willing to do it? Probably not.
I mean, look, I'd offer these solutions up. I just who's listening? Like, who do I send the email to about my ideal of, like, political office by jury, by random selection? How do I how do I do that? Who do I email that to? Like, it ain't going to go anywhere. I could maybe start a movement, but I don't know how to. I don't know how. Part of my problem is I don't know how to reach people. I don't know how to interact with people. I'm not very good at it. Like, I can interact with you, but you're a little fucking weird too.
Yeah, that's my problem. I don't really interact with the mass population extremely well, even though I've been told when I get on a roll, I'm a pretty good speaker, but I never have the confidence or the will to do it, either one at the same time. I'm
passionate about the things I care about. And when you get right down to it, the things that I'm most like, my most extreme positions, like even the one with cops, it comes from a place of humanitarianism, right? It comes from a place of wanting people to be safe, to be good, to be happy, of wanting people to have freedom, to be who they are, and not to be, fucking harassed and oppressed and shit. Most of my angst comes from a good place. And sure, I go extreme with it sometimes. But, every time somebody says I'm an extremist, something like Uvalde happens. And I'm like, well, am I? So, yeah, it comes from a place of not like hatred, but of wanting the world to be better, and frustration at the fact that it never seems to get better. It only seems to get cartoonishly worse at every turn. And I don't know how to fix that. But I mean, I know where it has to start is you gotta fucking talk about it. You gotta go to fucking Thanksgiving and sit down with your shitty ass uncles with their MAGA hats, and you gotta fucking talk about it. They might not fucking listen, but your little cousins might. You might influence them.
Right. We definitely need to bring back the conversations that we're told as children, at least in my generation, where we don't talk about church politics and
well, why the fuck not? When it's so fucked up, why can't we talk about it?
Well, the fact that we didn't is what allowed all this fucking shit to happen during the last 30 years.
Yeah. And then what's worse is, why can we only talk about one point of view on it? That was the problem in I was told, well, you can't talk about religion or politics unless it's some hard right-wing fucking, Southern Baptist shit. Then you can talk about it all you want. Anything else, though, you can't talk about that. That's that. And from childhood, I always thought that type of fucking authoritarianism was unfair. It was, it wasn't right. And then I started seeing it across not just with religion and politics, but that's just across the board, how people are, how people are being treated. Like, you're not allowed to step outside of it. You're not allowed to have a different thought. You know, everybody's got to have the same the same thoughts. And you know, it ain't like I'm having like, you know, I'm expressing Nazi ideas and shit. I just want the world to be a better place. You know, I want everybody to have a happy life. I don't want my kids to ever have to worry about where they're going to live or where their next meal is going to come from, like any fucking decent human being, right? You know, I get caught up in it, and I get mad about it because I know it's fucking wrong. And people need to do more of that. Fucking get mad about it, talk about it, do something about it. You know, maybe don't go shoot up a school about it. You know, but maybe not do violence. Maybe not do violence. Sometimes I get violent with my rhetoric, and you know, I don't mean to. I'm just fucking upset, and I'm angry, and you know, that's got that the violence has to end on it. The people need to be treated better, racist or not. You know, the police should treat people fucking better. Everybody should treat each other better. And if you're in charge, if you're the one with authority, then you have a higher standard to hold to. I believe you should treat people better treat people better. You know.
Now we're looking at it from the bottom up, and we see that problem, you know, of society, of, you know, the law enforcement being the pillars that hold that society up, and the oppression, and you know, we can see that perspective. I don't quite share it to the degree that you do, and see it as the problem that you and, you know, especially some others do. It is an issue and needs, you know, some attention to it, but I don't think it deserves the energy that we've given it, as I've stated. Um, uh, when you're looking at it from the other perspective, this is me playing devil's advocate here. You're from the top down, it's working perfectly. So why would they change
it? Well, that's a problem, isn't it?
It depends on the point of view and what direction you're wanting things to go. Or if you're just a mindless fool that thinks that's great and everything's working fine because, hey, I got a job and my car's working fine and I got an iPhone, then what the hell's the problem with these folks? Then, I mean, yeah, if you're looking at it from their perspective, I've got a problem. If you're looking at it from the perspective of a general society, everybody's like, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way, as society, we are going to behave. And we're down here just saying, fuck you. You know, I'm just looking at it from that perspective. Why would they change? And I'm not saying that is or isn't. I'm just pointing that out as a devil's advocate thing. If we are going to fight that, if that is the view from the top down, what are we going to be able to do to make some change?
I keep thinking it's like that episode of South Park, right? Where Man Bear Pig made a deal with the grandparent, all the old people, for cars and ice cream. And so he comes back to reclaim that deal. So the only thing they could really do is pass it on to the next generation. But I really think that part of it is the answer, that each generation it's going to get progressively better. Hopefully, you know, we the best thing we can do is try to get the next generation to be a little bit more, to care a little bit sooner than we did, you know, to already know what the problems are when they're hitting the ground running, not to be hit in the face by these surprises. You know, and maybe a couple of generations of that, maybe we'll have this shit figured out. But as it stands, no, the people in power want to hold that power. Everything looks good to them. And everybody below down there, well, what's wrong with them? They're just fucking crazy. The world's a crazy place. And the only people that are decent are the ones on this side of the fence. You know, that's problematic. That's not.
Yeah,
that's
not
the
system that we've created, that we are a slave to, because if we don't participate in the system falls apart, and we are the ones that suffer for it, because the only way to beat this system and to take it apart without actually going to war and destroying everything is to stop participating in it. And just when you stop participating in it, that means basically like taking a month off. Don't go to work. Don't produce a goddamn thing. Nothing gets done. The system's going to crumble. But we're the ones that are going to suffer for it because we have conditioned ourselves to live in that system. We can't live without it.
It's kind of like that movie Speed, where if the bus slows down, the bomb goes off. You know,
But you got to stop because you're gonna crash.
Exactly.
So we're not willing to do what's necessary to do it in a peaceful manner because it'll cause us some uncomfortable things to happen. You know, we're not willing to go through it. You know, they're going to be tough times. You know, it's going to be
Right.
really difficult to have power in your
why,
house when nobody's paying their power bill because nobody went to work to generate power.
That's why I put my hope in the future generations to find a better way. Right. to maybe things will start to change from the top down in future generations. It's not looking good, but there does seem to be a more progressive lean, right? When the people are starting to want to make things better. Like, people are starting to be more aware of issues in the world around them, due mostly like social media and shit like that. You know what I mean? People are more connected to the world around them, so they feel more of a connection with people all around the world.
So they got more things to be pissed off at instead of dealing with something local.
Well, they have a better worldview of see what the world actually is, and actually, like I said, and the kids watching this shit, they want shit to be better too, right? And
yeah, but people in India worship cows.
The further you get from,
not saying that's a derogatory thing. It's just we think differently. We've got different ideals of what should be, shouldn't be, what should happen. I mean, we just because we're aware of it doesn't mean that we can use that everything there as example as this is how it's supposed to be over here. They do this over there, so we need to do it over here. That shit's not going to work.
Right, and if we can just teach our kids to care, they can fix the world that we could not.
Well, we do that.
Yeah,
we need
and
to
things are slowly
educate
getting
them better.
Well, God forbid now. If you're educating them, you better be telling them about those 10 Commandments.
Yeah, because fuck the other fucking
and then don't
4
post,
that were actually there, nor the other 640 that are actually supposed to be followed. 600 and something. I might got that number wrong, but it's up there.
Yeah. I mean, the education's a fucking
Christians are cheating.
They don't want you to think.
Oh, they call wise men
there was a
fools.
John Lennon song. There's a John Lennon song called "Working Class Hero." He says, yeah, they hate you if you're clever, and they despise a fool." Till you're so fucking crazy you can't follow their rules.
Yeah, but they call a wise man the fool. But I think we've probably about covered this as deep as we're going to go about where numbers can possibly go. I know we didn't quote all the numbers, folks, but there are a list from the Washington Post's deep dive research into it. I've got links to the crime database from Department of Justice and from one other spot, Crime in the USA or something like that done something to compile a bunch of different lists. I didn't share a link over here for every single one of the references that are listed because in that particular link, the references are links in themselves.
Yeah, those links you sent me, I'm going to add them to the links I got. I got links that send you to like the FBI statistics pages and like different reporting bureaus and whatnot. I got all the numbers in the world in links, and I'm going to add yours to it, and I'm going to add that to the show notes.
And so put a link into that lecture from the Penn State that we found and watched in there, because that was a very damn good lecture on critical thinking.
Yeah, it was informative in its own way. It was more like thought exercises. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
And folks, be objective with yourselves. That's all I really ask. Be objective, not subjective. Keep an open mind, and be better people.
Yeah, I mean, look, I listen to way more right-wing media than people would think I do. But you got to listen to everything.
And I listen to a lot less than I'm fucking blamed to.
It's amazing, Mike. You're just a natural right winger.
Believe in freedom, bro. No, man, I am a true conservative. I'm not one of these modern ass conservatives now that just, God, country, and whatever, No, I am.
Well, freedoms.
I am a
That's why I
by
like. That's why I
definition
sent you that.
conservative. I don't want to change everything all at once and then hope it turns out better. I want to stay the course, hold what we got that's working pretty well, and tweak it to make changes as we go. I'm scared of change because in my little network, every daggone thing that's changed has been for the bad. Yes, until you take in the grand scheme of things and look at the overall arcing picture of the world around you, that's only, in my view, does it ever start looking better. It's hard to hold that view, man.
I would never actually classify you as like a hard right winger or anything. A wingnut. You are definitely a conservative, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to stay, take a step back. You're progressive in the ways that matter. You know what I mean?
And I am extremely liberal in ways that matter. Not every way that people want me to be, but in ways that humanitarianly matter, I am extremely liberal.
Yeah, when it comes down to the greater good, you are willing to listen, and have conversations about what that might be. You don't think you automatically know what the greater good is. You're not saying the greater good is the way things have always been done. In fact, it's working so great, we need to continue doing more of that. No, that's not you.
No, I'm just slow to change. I'm really hesitant to make changes, especially big changes. Then that is all that I can classify myself anywhere in the right-wing party of a Republican Party, is that I am conservative in the fact that I don't like massive changes, but I do want to change things that are a problem, that are obviously a problem, but I want to make sure that I'm going to change them in ways that are better, not just let's throw something out there and see if it works.
Agreed. I do have a little bit of a tendency for, this is broken, fuck it.
See, I'm the one that, all right, it's broken. Let me take it apart and see if I can put it back together in a slightly better way.
But yeah, so I think we pretty much covered this. We did 5 hours on the system, really. I mean, cops were just part of it.
You never stay on topic.
Well, I disagree. I think we were mostly on topic the whole time. It's just the topic is affected by so many different variables, right? We had to discuss all the variables that go into this topic. Otherwise, it's not a fair discussion at all, is it?
Yeah, true. I don't know if I pulled you off of your all cops are bastards, but I definitely have made sure that we've cemented, and I have got it cemented, that you're not talking about the individual cop, but more along the use of law enforcement as it's used.
Yes, like I said, it's not the policeman. I have nothing. I ain't got a thing in the world against Andy Griffith. My problem was what is the oppressive arm of the state, not the people that are being bent to its will.
All right, so okay, we've found common ground there.
I still say all cops are bastards. I've never said all policemen are bastards.
You know that you're always going to have to clarify that without being a little more explicit, right?
I think it pretty much explains itself as soon as I mention Andy Griffith.
Law enforcement is corrupt. Great.
On one hand, you have Andy Griffith. On the other hand, you have Derek Chauvin. Or the fucking Chicago guy. God, we didn't even talk about him, but the Chicago guy that did all that torture. That's on the other hand. That's on the other end of Andy Griffith. I hate them. Those are the cops.
Well, you know what happened in California, and I think it was Chicago. Illinois. I think it was San Francisco and Chicago are two of the states that come to mind. I may be mistaken, but I know it was California and Illinois that basically decriminalized a whole bunch of stuff. You know, like we were discussing, some things shouldn't be, criminalized, and apparently some folks agreed, and they decriminalized a whole bunch of stuff. And some of them I think they should not have put on the list, but they did this little thing. I don't know if it's an experiment or if it's their new laws, but people were just running around, going to the stores, just robbing it up to about $2,000. The cops can't even stop you. And so people just went on a stealing spree for the fuck of it, to the point where people were, even in the cars, people were leaving notes on their car. Hey, guy, please don't rob my car. I've got nothing, but there's a Walgreens down the street.
I'd say you'd have that for a little while. Maybe like I said, there's a middle ground somewhere there, right? Like,
and I'm not saying that the vast majority of the population couldn't just sit back, chill without police presence and be great, but unfortunately, there's a good 10% of us that can't.
Well, right. There's got to be a middle ground between letting people walk out of the store with shit they didn't pay for and shooting them for it, right? There's got to be middle ground,
And that line would have to go if the person's willing to shoot for that stealing the stuff they stole. Then I'm okay with them getting shot.
Well, then they were just going to shoot. They would just shoot you anyway, right?
Well,
I mean.
Which makes this whole problem of police shooting people a whole lot less of an issue than even it should be, even than it is. Because then we're only talking about 400 and some odd people a year instead of over 1,000. Yeah, actually, it's 400 out of 5 years.
See, that's called harm reduction, Mike.
Well, we're talking about the unarmed people that still got killed, then, that's the little portion that we're talking about. Well, because the people that were armed, let's say, I'm not saying all of them were, but if they're armed and, they were part of a crime, the cop doesn't know if they're willing to shoot. We don't know if they actually were willing to shoot or if they intended to or not. We don't know those. We didn't get that. We don't have case by case studies.
Right. When it comes down to looking at whether the victim of a police shooting or whatever was armed or unarmed, those statistics are almost useless.
Well, you're definitely more likely to get shot by a cop if you're armed than unarmed. Definitely more likely. So it's not totally useless. I mean, if you're unarmed, you're much less likely to get shot by a police officer than if you are armed.
Well, no matter the color of your skin. Depends what is armed. If I'm laying in my bed and a cop shoots me, and then while they're searching the scene later, they find out there was a knife under the bed, I was armed, right? So while
well, that points to corruption is a totally different problem.
Well, yes,
might skew the data that we're referring to, but we would first have to show that is actually happening and happening to this particular case that would happen at a rate to skew the data to change
right. How many of these people that were armed were actually threatening? We're actually a threat. We're actually like reaching for the weapon or having the weapon, or you know what I mean? Like how much? Because I'm not saying that every cop is corrupt doing that. I'm just saying that by looking at whether they were armed or not doesn't say whether or not the killing was justified because they were armed.
That does not answer the question. Yeah,
and I think that more people are armed than not. Of some kind. You know what I mean?
True. And I think that some of those people, probably the greater proportion of them that were unarmed, were violent to a point where they needed some type of pacification. Now, whether killing them was the correct pacification remains, I don't know. Case by case, I'd have to look at it, and I did, and I have no opinion there. But we got, in the last 5.5 years, 400 some people unarmed killed by police. What were they doing? What were they on? What was the cause? Why did the fucking cop shoot him? That's the question that needs to be, not just, oh my God, he was black. What the fuck was the black guy doing? You know?
Yeah, with me, I never really give a shit about the person's color. It's a matter of whether, to me, it isn't a matter that Eric Garner was killed and he was black. It's that Eric Garner was killed for selling fucking cigarettes. Right?
Exactly.
It's not about the fact that he was black. It's about the fact that what he was doing wasn't worth him dying for.
You said black man selling cigarettes, getting killed by police, I'm mad. Black man reaching for his ID, getting killed by police, I'm mad. Black man getting killed by police because he's waving a gun around the mall, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm more on, at that point in time, the race has nothing to do with it. It's a matter of, it's not about the race with me, at least with me specifically. It's not about race at that point. It's remove race from the situation. I'm still mad that the cops did this,
Yes, I would have been mad if it was a white man that got choked out for selling cigarettes. Mad about the fact that a man got choked out for selling cigarettes. I don't give a fuck that he was black or white. And it's not, it is irrelevant statistically and, objectively and subjectively. It's irrelevant. Somebody got choked out for selling cigarettes. It should not have been a problem to begin with.
Right. It was not worth that man's life.
As are a lot of the instances where people are losing their life over it. It wasn't worth the cop going there to begin with. So if we got rid of the crime, those numbers would disappear.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think that's what the motivation is behind this thing going on with like California and Illinois, right? It's just trying to compensate for that. They're recognizing this a problem. I think they might have gone a little bit too far.
Okay, well, I'll give you some advice, people that are having that kind of thing happen in your areas. Stop doing the goddamn crimes. Even if they give you permission, don't do it. Because if you do it, they're just going to put the fucking law back in because you're giving them a reason to.
Yeah. Don't help them be right. don't let them win.
The reason we had the laws to begin with, which is why we have the cops that we have. And if they take away the restriction and you're going to go out and abuse it immediately, then they're going to put the cops right back in because, hey, you're the reason we got the cops.
I see it as overall a positive move. They're at least working in what I feel like is the right direction. Like I said, they went a little bit too far. But, at least too far all at once, right? You slowly roll some shit like that in, and I bet it ain't as big a problem,
Right, be conservative with it, but don't be as conservative as modern day conservatives are being with, like, say the marijuana law reform.
Don't be so conservative that you're backwards. Don't go in reverse. I don't
like change, but I'm already like, y'all motherfuckers need to hurry the hell up and do this shit.
Like some shit. Exactly. And like I said, so I mean, these type of changes, I think would decrease, these incidents of people dying for selling fucking cigarettes, and decriminalizing things or maybe reclassifying. Again, had some guy in a business suit walked up and handed fucking Eric Garner a bill, he's still alive today. You know what I'm saying? And really, because the crime he was committing was something like a victimless crime that was financial and like tax in its nature, it should have only been applied with financial force. Here's a bill, motherfucker. That's it.
Yeah, we're going to garnish your wages, and if you don't pay it within a set amount of time, we're going to forfeit, and you're going to seize some of your property to make up for it. Yeah, I mean, that would suck. But sure. I would even go that far. You're violating a law. You're violating a law.
But you're not hurting anybody. You don't deserve to die for it.
Right. You're violating a tax law at that point. We're talking about a civil code. We're talking about actual laws here.
Yeah. You're not hurting anyone. You know what I'm saying? And so and taking the police out of those equations, out of situations like that where they're not really needed, and putting in something else, it would be better. Like I said, I think there is a movement towards that, and I would like to see that encouraged. And I don't want to see it, ruined because they fucking did too much at once. No,
I'm okay with using our police as errand boys. Deliver subpoenas, fucking deliver county bills, what the fuck ever. Hell, have them motherfuckers delivering Amazon for all I fucking care. And you have police presence everywhere, and they're fucking being productive, and they're fucking doing. I mean, it's the best of every fucking thing there, bro. You use them as errand boys.
I mean, to a degree, why not? Or have a whole different section of the technically police department, that isn't body armored up. That's just doing shit like this, handing out citations and fucking. Yeah.
Well, they do have those.
To a degree. And Durham actually has a program, some sort of it's like retired police officers that have they take some other classes or whatnot. But basically it's like an alternate response to the police for things that don't really need police, like mental health crises and shit like that. Do what?
I bet you they're carrying.
They might be, but they're not going to be pulling, not as often, because they're not going to these life-threatening type things. You know what I mean? They're going to the things that cops are going to, thinking they're in a life-threatening situation that they're not in. They're handling the little shit like the eviction notices. Well, actually, I think that's still the cops, but I can't. There's some other group that's doing a little shit like little bitty shit. The actual protect and serve shit.
Yeah, I agree. We definitely need to get that into mind. At least bring it back. Some small towns used to have nice protect and serve kind of law enforcement. Youngsville was kind of like that. Wake Forest kind of was too, and then Raleigh encroached a little bit, and sometimes it's changed. And I don't hold my experience with the Youngsville police at all against them. I did something. They did what they did. I don't really hold it against them. I don't like one particular one all that much because of a personal thing, but that's here nor there. I did what I did. They did their thing. One particular one, that will always be cursed in my family. That particular one I got a problem with. But that's a subjective thing. I can't hold the entire police force because of my problem with that, and I refuse to do it on a grander scale. I can't hold the whole thing accountable for the actions of a few, and the few aren't acting up to a point that it statistically is a problem in my perspective.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's just cold numbers on that. And I don't know how many it's going to take for me to be able to change my mind, but in most cases, it would be something along the lines of a 10% thing for a generalized rule of acceptable losses in military, or acceptable losses in a financial investment kind of a thing before you start pulling out or thinking about pulling out. I can't say that with this, because if I waited till 10%, then we're going to have a big fucking problem, because that would be 530,000 fucking people a year. That would be way too big of a fucking problem to fucking wait for that. So I can't use 10% here. But when you're looking at it out of the number, just the staggering number of times that cops interact with people versus the times that they go horribly wrong, I have to think, just by that statistic alone, that the cops are doing a pretty fucking bang up job of enforcing rules upon a public.
I will concede that my personal feelings about how I feel during police interactions aside, those aside, I would say it's not as big a deal. Like, it's not as big as a problem as some people say, as it's being portrayed as in certain aspects. That's not saying the problems aren't there, but I think it is blown way out of proportion, with certain things. Again, my feelings about it are my own feelings. Not everybody feels threatened when they see the cop coming up behind them in the rearview mirror. That is my own personal response to my own traumas and my unique way of looking at the world. So yeah, are police a problem? Absolutely. Are they the problem that everybody thinks they are? Is it the police themselves? No, it's not the policemen. Not all of them. Yeah, there's bad apples, and you're going to have those in every nest. There is a system of protecting the bad apples, and it kind of ruins the whole bunch. But at the end of the day, I mean, who you going to call if your kid gets kidnapped or something, right? So I agree with you on several aspects of it. Like I said, all cops are bastards, not all policemen. Um, they should be out there providing a necessary service. Some are, and hell, even maybe I'd say the vast majority. But like I said, I have such disdain for the system that they represent that it spills over onto them. And I think a lot of people feel that way, right? That they're just a symbol, you know?
Right. And I think the only way we'll ever find actual solutions to these problems that we can find and actually identifying the correct problems is for people to bring back the tabletop conversations that we used to have. Do it a little bit better than we do on Twitter and Facebook, stuff like that. It's okay, but people tend to get cemented in their mindset when they can't actually be when they get stuck in an echo chamber or when people can't actually confront their bullshit. You can call anybody that N-word all the hell you want to from behind the keyboard. Nobody can knock your teeth out for it. So you're more apt to do it, right? So you're more apt to keep that mindset and cement it into your reality and then teach it to your kids if you're stuck in that echo chamber online. Bring your conversations back, even to your kids. And when your kid comes back from school and says, but wait a minute, Papa, that ain't what they telling me in school. Your ass might want to go to fucking school because your kid's learning something and you didn't.
Well, I guess that's where we're going to have to leave it, folks.
Yeah, that was my wrap up. If you got a response and you want to wrap up, that's fine, man. But I really can't add anything more. I'm gonna go around in circles.
Yeah, there's nothing more I can really add to it. It's a very complex topic. Like I said, to the point that I've considered making a little sideshow talking about it. It is a very complex topic, but again, a lot of it is angst that spills over from the system, and it spills over onto the most visible part of the system, at least from my point of view, right? From the bottom looking up, the first thing I see is the cops. So
easy target, low hanging fruit. I got you, man. That actually might be something to take into consideration for other folks as well. Maybe even for myself.
Yeah, so yeah, with that, folks, I guess we're gonna wrap her up. Hit all the likes, subscribe, shares if you feel so inclined and you'd like to see more of our content. I would encourage you to go over to our Patreon at patreon.com/stonerspointpod. You just go in the search bar, and you'll have to, make sure you can search for you have to search for it specifically because we're explicit. But yeah, find Stoners Point Podcast. You can join our Patreon there. And the more Patreon members, the more we're encouraged to produce content. The more we're able to produce content. So, folks, till next time, I'd close it out with the fuck around and find out. How about you, Mike?
Just be better, people.
Yeah, well, dreams are nice.